Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 54 seconds p.m. Chapter 357. Chapter 357. Widow's Son again. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 357. Widow's Son again. Shan, who was sitting on the wagon, exchanged a cold look with Widow's Son, snorted, and looked away. It was this woman who tried to set up his young master and young master Xie, because of which he ended up being scolded. Shan disliked this woman deeply. Widow's Son had not recognized Shan at the beginning. She just found him a bit familiar. But wagons were rarely seen in the village, so she suddenly remembered who they were. It's them. So they are visiting Shao Yunduan again? How can that man get to know so many rich people? Widow's Son could not help but feel curious, wondering who was in the wagon. But she knew clearly that she could not visit them, otherwise Miss Fong would blast her off. But Widow's Son was too curious to restrain herself. She could not help but wonder what on earth was going on there. So Widow's Son went to Ms. Neo again. Hey, remember what I told you about the guests of the first section of the family? There are two rich young masters in the wagon. Widow's Son winked. Your Miling is still unmarried, right? This is a great opportunity, and you can't miss it. If Tao Tao steals the show and becomes the wife of some rich people, your Miling will have a lot of difficulty in finding a better suitor. Ms. Neo did not want to speak with Widow's Son because Shao Yunduan turned her down last time when she asked. But when she heard the last sentence, she could not help but feel motivated. So, Shao Yunduan and Ms. Fong refused to introduce the two young masters to her because they expected Tao Tao to marry one of them. That was not going to work. Ms. Neo made up her mind and pursed her lips. Just forget about it. Shao Yunduan is nothing more than a cultivated talent. How rich can his friends be? But I can have a look at them. Ms. Neo got up and started walking. Widow's Son followed up, smiling. It depends on who you are comparing them to. The two men are in a wagon, and they have servants. I believe that they are definitely richer than us, right? Ms. Neo snorted and admitted that Widow's Son's words made sense. She thought the same thing as Widow's Sunday. Those who could befriend Shao Yunduan must be rich, but not as rich as those big shots. If the two women knew how much wealth the Yuezheng family and the Xie family had, they would not think about having a marital relationship with them. Xie and Yuezheng Shao's sudden visit surprised Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. The family met them for the second time and was already used to their arrival. They greeted each other, and Ms. Fong put away the gifts they had with them. She asked Yang Xiaoni to boil water and prepare the tea, whilst instructing Tao Tao to fetch the keys from Xiao Xian and pick some fresh grapes and dates from the garden to serve the guests. She had no idea about what to prepare for lunch and decided to wait for Xiao Xian to figure it out. The two young masters looked neatly dressed, and they seemed to be interested in dishes cooked by Xiao Xian, not others. Ms. Fong felt very honored that these two young masters had befriended her son, and she decided to treat them well. The tea leaf was lavender, whilst the fruits were newly picked. Yuezheng Shao was very curious about everything in their family. Those ordinary-looking dates and grapes seemed quite unique in their eyes. They had a bite of each, and sure enough, they tasted extremely good. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 53 seconds p.m. Chapter 358. Chapter 358. Ms. Neo's excitement. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 358. Ms. Neo's excitement, Yuezheng Shao said excitedly with a smile. The bergamots that you gave us last time grew so well that I shared two with Brother Xie, who gave them to his grandma. She loved it. Do you have any more of those? Please give us some more this time. Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian gave that as a gift to Yuezheng Shao during the mid-autumn day, but they did not give it to Xie Jingrong. That was because her family and the Xie family were not in a very familiar relationship, and a family like the Xie family would not receive presents easily. They had no idea what to give to them, so they gave nothing to Xie Jingrong. Xiao Xian smiled. Yes, I have a dozen on the trees, all growing well. We will need 3 and 4 for the new year. You could take the rest away. The bergamots looked really good. Xiao Xian considered planting some more next year. Yuezheng Shao did not turn her down and smiled. Okay, I will take them. Xie Jingrong nodded with a smile, to express his gratitude. They did not need to think about what to take and give. They were just exchanging gifts. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan laughed. They appreciated friends like Yuezheng Shao and Xie. They were just chatting when Ms. Niu and Widow Sun walked in. Ms. Niu glanced about and her eyes brightened, her heart throbbing in excitement. These two young masters were so handsome. Look at the clothes they were wearing and the wagon and the servants. Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao were not into showing off. They were not exquisitely dressed for the trip to the Shao family in the village. That was why Ms. Niu believed that they were within her league, thus getting extremely excited. They looked handsome and they had money. They were just right to be her son-in-law. Yunduan and Ms. Fong were so stingy not to introduce them to her. Now that she was here, she was not going to let them stop her. "Oh, we have guests over. I have never seen you before. Where are you from?" Two young masters. "Oh yes, I am Yunduan's second aunt, married to his real second uncle." Ms. Niu was glancing at Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong, feeling quite confused and excited at the same time. Both of them looked so nice. Which one should she pick? Xie Jingrong frowned and stayed silent. Yuezheng Shao smiled, feeling that this so-called second aunt of Shao Yunduan seemed quite rough, yet she was part of Shao Yunduan's family. So he was about to answer her when Xiao Xian stood up. She took hold of Ms. Niu's arm and smiled. "Second aunt, you're here to speak with my mother, right? She is in the backyard. Come with me." She then glanced at Widow Sun, who was rolling her eyes. She asked her straightforwardly, "Aunt Sun, what are you doing here?" Visiting my mother, Widow Sun smiled and said, "We are guests and we can, of course, see each other. But Ms. Xiao, you are a junior in the family, and you should not speak with me like this in front of guests, right?" Xiao Xian had no interest in concealing anything in front of Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao. After all, not everything could be concealed or ignored. For example, Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, who always try to portray as if they were a good, united family. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong would not mind the truth about their family situation, since they were friends. The two of them understood clearly what Ms. Niu was like the moment she showed up. It was totally reasonable when she spoke harshly. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 52 seconds p.m. Chapter 359. Chapter 359. Driving away if audio player doesn't work, press stop, then play button again. Chapter 359. Driving away also, they both were from big, noble families, where they had seen infights all the time. So, they would not dislike them for no reason. Xiao Xin smiled. "You spread a rumor about our family and had a fight with my mother. I am just curious about what you are doing here, Adore." Yuezheng Shao burst into laughter. Widow Sun had not expected that Xiao Xian would humiliate her in front of everybody. Her cheeks flushed in embarrassment, and she got so angry that she could not utter a word. "Ms. Xiao, how dare you?" Ms. Niu glanced at Xiao Xian with an accusing look. Then she smiled at Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao. "Oh, young masters, this is what my niece-in-law is like. She has no idea what she is doing. Don't get mad at her. Oh yes, where are you from? What are your names?" Yuezheng Shao smiled. "Ms. Xiao and Brother Shao are both very nice people." Xie Jingrong nodded. "True." Ignoring Ms. Niu, Xiao Xian pulled her away when Ms. Fong and Yang Xiaoni came out of the backyard, looking dumbfounded seeing the two women. Ms. Fong took hold of Ms. Niu and dragged her away. Widow Sun got a glare from Ms. Fong, and she hurried away, saying that she had something else to do at home. Ms. Fong grabbed Ms. Niu in the backyard, saying furiously, "Stop being so embarrassing in my house." Ms. Niu was unhappy. "Why am I embarrassing you? You just don't want us to live a better life. These two young masters look like a great match for my miling. Stop it. Now." Ms. Fong almost wanted to give her a kick. "Ms. Niu, they're Yunduan's friends, and they are here to visit Yunduan. Look at your miling. How can she be a match for them? Don't turn her into a joke, so she has no reputation left. Or else don't regret your actions later. Their marriages will be determined by their families. If you want to make your daughter into either of their wife, go and recommend her in front of them directly." Ew. Ms. Niu sneered, hearing Ms. Fang's harsh words. "What are you talking about? I know what you are thinking." Ms. Niu lowered her voice. You were planning to match Tao Tao to them, right? What? Ms. Fong was startled, not knowing what Ms. Niu meant. When she realized what Ms. Niu was trying to say, she raised her hands and almost slapped right on her face. No one is as greedy and imaginative as you are. Ms. Niu sneered and did not believe her. Anyway, you are welcome to think what you like. Ms. Fong said coldly. They are my guests, and if you dare to do anything, I will not forgive you ever. Having said that, Ms. Fong drove Ms. Niu out. Ms. Niu did not dare to walk into the room and left in anger. She was not giving up. She loved those two young masters, and she needed to work hard for them. She understood clearly that it was the only chance she could have. Inside the room, Shao Yunwan smiled. Sorry for the commotion. Please forgive them for what they have done, and said. Shao Yunwan did not want to tell them anything bad about Ms. Niu and the other woman, but he needed to warn them. The two women might come up with some other ideas later. Yuezheng Shao smiled. Brother Shao, don't worry. Every family has its own problems. My family affairs might be even worse than yours. Yuezheng smiled. The Xie family had many internal problems too, but not that bad, since no one dared to make a scene in front of him. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 51 seconds, p.m. Chapter 360. Chapter 360. New house. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 360. New house. Yuezheng Shao was sincerely treating Shao Yunwan as his real friend. Xiao Xian made lunch. She killed a duck and braised it with sauce. Then, she made a pot of sour soup with small miscellaneous fish, steamed mandarin fish, tomato eggs, stir-fried wolfberry, shredded lettuce, and beans according to the custom. Shao Yunwan ate with Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao outside, and the others were eating in the kitchen. Those from the first section of the family were quite calm compared to the last time when they met Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng. Even someone as honest as Shao Dalong came over and greeted them with a forced, embarrassed smile. Anyway, they were just very happy that the two young masters were from a good family and were willing to visit them at home and befriend his brother. In the afternoon, Yuezheng Shao mentioned hunting, and he had a long conversation with Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Tao Tao. Yuezheng Shao got even more interested after that. They were here to go hunting in the mountains, so they decided to return the following morning. They did not show any disdainful look at the Shao family's house, but the Shao family's house was not large enough to hold 4 people and 1 coachman. Since they had a wagon, they could head back to the town quickly. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng went back to the town. Ms. Niu brought her daughter to their home, claiming that she wanted to have a chit-chat with Tao Tao. But in fact, she was planning on something else. Ms. Fong had already prepared for it. Before they could enter the yard, she drove them away and even implicitly warned Shao Miling. She told her not to behave stupidly, like her mother, lest she became a laughingstock. Shao Miling left with her cheeks burning red. Ms. Niu glared at Ms. Fong and left timidly. Ms. Fong was speechless. She was telling the truth and was doing it for Shao Miling's sake. Did Ms. Niu think that everyone else was stupid? The village was too small to hold a secret. Widow's son, for example, talked a lot, and she knew about this matter. It was shameless for Ms. Niu to get Shao Miling to meet the two young masters, especially under a thinly disguised excuse. If the marriage worked out well, then all was fine, otherwise who would dare to marry Shao Miling afterwards? Ms. Fong knew clearly that this matter would not work. Therefore, she decided to remodify the house, especially making the gate tighter and locked properly. In the evening, Ms. Fong said to the whole family, "Our house is too shabby and old, small too. She is getting married in a few years, and you will all have children, so it is not big enough to hold you all. We need to build a new house." It was a major thing to build a new house, and everyone got very excited, talking between themselves. Xiao Xian showed concern about it too. She could not help but look at Shao Yunwan. They exchanged a look which made Xiao Xian feel quite embarrassed. She moved her gaze away from him. Did it mean that she was not leaving Shao Yunwan, ever? She had decided not to leave a long time ago, but she had not said that out loud. Also, Shao Yunwan had not said anything to have her stay back. But the way she behaved seemed so obvious to Shao Yunwan who felt quite delighted. Eldest uncle sighed. We do need to build 2 more rooms, but do we have any money for that? Ms. Fong said, 2 more rooms? We need to demolish the whole house and build a brand new one, to live a cozier life. As for money, we have saved some. Eldest uncle. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 51 seconds p.m. Chapter 361. Chapter 361. Speechless if audio player doesn't work. Press stop, then play button and again. Chapter 361. Speechless when did she save money? Why was he not aware of that? At this point, Xiao Xin chipped in to clear this up. Xiao Xin smiled. Dad, we went into the mountains a while ago, right? We found a patch of valuable medical herbs and sold them to the pharmacies in town, earning more than 50 liang, just enough for a new house. What? The eldest uncle's eyes widened as he responded in surprise. How much? More than 50 liang. Actually, Miss Fong had decided to spend 200 liang to build a grand new house, but she cut the number as she said it out loud. Eldest uncle wasn't good at counting, so he would never know the real numbers. He was kept away from the truth, not because they were afraid of the second and third section of the family. They just wanted to save unnecessary trouble so that everyone could live a happy and peaceful life. Soon the second and third section of the family would get used to them being ignored. Eldest uncle was startled. Which medical herbs are so valuable? Xiao Xian replied crisply. Gastrodia, which is required by the pharmacies, and that's why they paid us such an amount. Eldest uncle said voluntarily, so many good things in the mountains. You should describe it well, so your second uncle and third uncle could also join you next time to seek it. Everyone felt silent. Okay, Xiao Xian said with a smile. Gastrodia is rarely seen, and we only ran into it once. When we see it next time, we will definitely bring it for them to learn from. Eldest uncle opened his mouth, feeling that something was wrong, but he could not figure out clearly what was wrong. He nodded. Okay. Xiao Xian really looked down at eldest uncle, who considered himself the head of the family. He kept taking unnecessary burdens onto his shoulders, but still ended up being looked down upon by everyone. What did he really want from his actions? Xiao Xian did not think that she would ever understand what he wanted in his life. Ms. Fong said, just don't tell them right now about it. The medical herbs aren't found easily. If that was the case, they wouldn't be so valuable. If you tell them now, they may get anxious. Eldest uncle felt uncomfortable, but replied with a nod. Shao Samlang said with a smile, Mom, we are building a new house. Aren't Ms. Fong looked motivated? Of course. Everyone discussed how big the new house should be, how many rooms, and what kind of construction should be done. 200 liang would be plenty, but Xiao Xian thought about adding some of her savings to the building so that the wall could be higher and best materials could be used for the decoration. What was the point of being rich and not use her money for making something good? This was a major event, and naturally it would not be finalized for a while. When everyone dispersed, they were still excited. The following day, Yuezheng, Shao, and Xie arrived there early in the morning. Xiao Xian and the others all got up early too. Xie and Yuezheng, Shao happened to be right on time for breakfast. For breakfast, there was white porridge that was thick and fragrant, as well as steamed flour rolls and steamed buns. The homemade kimchi included radish strips, cowpeas, red peppers, carrots, green lettuce which had been placed on the table. Also, there was a plate of crispy, finger-sized fried fish wrapped in batter, diced radish, shiitake mushrooms, and diced chili sauce that acted as side dishes to accompany the meal. In particular, the kimchi had a special fragrance, salty and sour, refreshing and bright in color. Just looking at it made people salivate. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 50 seconds p.m. Chapter 362. Chapter 362. In the mountains, if audio player doesn't work, press stop, then play button again. Chapter 362. In the mountains, Xie and Yuezheng, Shao, had never seen this kind of food before. They started to drool when they smelled it. They had eaten breakfast, but when Shao Yunduan asked them to join him, they still ate half a bowl of porridge with kimchi. Yuezheng Shao still had some lingering taste in his mouth. Your kimchi tastes really good. I'm already addicted to it. Shao Sanlang stepped forward and said emotionally, "That is true. I also feel so, but my mom stops me from eating much." His ECU 1B. She glanced at her dumb son. He ate too much to suffer from indigestion, but he was now saying that he could not eat enough? He was so dumb. Yuezheng Shao laughed. Xiao Xian said, "It is very easy to make it. I can tell you how to make it, and you can ask your servants to do it for you." Making kimchi was the same as making pickles. Anyone who could make food could make it. Xiao Xian had not thought about selling it for money, so she could share the recipe easily. Tao and Xiao Xian often made one huge bowl for the family's consumption. It was very easy to make, and the ingredients were easy to prepare as well. But the whole thing tasted great, and that added some fun in their food, which was wonderful. Yuezheng Shao felt a bit shy and said, "We come to your home to get a lot of things. It is very generous of you to share it all with us." Xie Jingrong said, "We have some wonderful recipes for making pastries at our home too, and I can share them with you." Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled, and she nodded with a smile. Okay, that would be wonderful." Yuezheng Shao smiled. "I have some too, and I am happy to share them with you." Having eaten breakfast, they wrapped 10 steamed buns and picked the tools to take along with them. Soon, they headed straight into the mountains. Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao's servants followed along. They had changed into some comfortable clothes and shoes that were easy to walk in. They wanted to go deep into the mountains for a great hunt. Shao Xiaoqi was very excited about being the guide for the gang. He wanted to show what he was capable of, hoping secretly that they could run into some large prey, such as wild goats and deer, but not as large as wild boars, bears, or tigers. The original ecological forest had beautiful scenery, majestic and quiet, including strange rocks. Sometimes a clear stream flowed past, and occasionally they could see waterfalls of different sizes, autumn chrysanthemums swaying, and the color-changing leaves flying with the wind. There were all kinds of red and purple wild fruits adorning the branches, a feast for the eyes. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong had hunted before, but no one ever dared to take them into the real mountains. They only went to the foot of the mountains or a shallow cluster to have fun. It was the first time for them to be inside such deep mountains. Even the air they breathed and seemed to be rather different. They were quite amazed by this kind of landscape and spoke highly of it. Seeing that young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng, who were born in a noble family, were so interested in this kind of place, Shao Sanlang and Shao Xiaoqi could not help but admire them. They kept telling them about the surroundings, and they were engaged in an animated conversation with each other. Shao Xiaoqi would hunt wild roosters and rabbits when they ran into those animals. Sometimes, he would ask the two young masters to pull the arrow on the right occasion. Yuezheng Shao did not know how to shoot. He only did that based on his own instinct and, unsurprisingly, missed the target all the time. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 49 seconds p.m. Chapter 363. Chapter 363. His skills if audio player doesn't work. Press stop, then play button again. Chapter 363. His skills Xie Jingrong was quite a surprise. He managed to hit 2 wild roosters. They were shocked, but Xie Jingrong just smiled, saying that he had learned a little bit of shooting and riding before. Shao Yinwan could not help but admire him secretly. A well-mannered man should have 6 skills, including shooting and riding. Xie Jingrong was really good at shooting and riding after being trained by the Xie family, and he looked elegant when he did it. That was amazing. Both Chu Shan and Xie Dong were delighted. They barely had this kind of fun before, and every time one prey was shot down, they would go to fetch it as if they had hit it themselves. Yuezheng Shao was not sad, even if he failed. They were just here for fun. Apart from hunting, Shao Xiaoqi and Tao even picked some wild fruits to share with them, like wild grapes. They also came across a few peach trees. The red fruit was not much bigger than a duck's egg. It tasted good, crisp, and sweet, with a peachy fragrance. So, they got a few ripe ones to take them home. Xiao Xian picked some mushrooms, which drew Yuezheng Shao's curiosity. Half a day passed, and there were no large animals seen, but soon after lunch, they ran into a muntjac. Shao Zioki's eyes sparkled. He rubbed his hands in excitement. We are lucky to run into such a large dude. Shoo, no sound. It is quite cautious. Shao Zioki's thick eyebrows were raised, and he looked sharp. He stopped the others from moving, but amongst the shadow of bushes and trees, he moved forward slowly. At the proper distance, he pulled the bow, aimed with one eye shut at the animal's heart, and released the arrow directly. It hit right on the animal's heart. The animal let out a scream and then collapsed. It struggled for a while and finally stopped moving. Chu Shan and Xiedong cheered. He hit it again. The two servants rushed to carry the animal back. You are great, Qi. Yuezheng Shao raised his thumb at Shao Xiaoqi, complimenting him sincerely. Shao Xiaoqi scratched his head and smiled in embarrassment. It's okay. Very good, not just okay. Yuezheng Shao said with a smile. Especially when he was hunting the muntjac a while ago, Shao Zioki's whole state immediately became different. He was a bit fierce when he was serious, with that posture, that movement, that expression. Those who did not know what was going on would think that he was not hunting, but facing a fierce enemy. When he thought about how he had hunted the roosters and rabbits, he seemed to be just having fun. You can join the army. You will definitely shine there. Right, brother Xie? Xie Jingrong nodded. Yes, Qi, you're totally professional, and if you join the army, you can stand out very easily. Who taught you all of these skills? Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian exchanged a look, and their hearts sank. They did not think that it was not the right time to tell the truth, but they had no idea what else to say. Both of them were quite surprised, too, that Qi seemed to be an expert. But then who was Hunter Zhao? Who taught him these skills? Why did he spend the rest of his life in this village? Shao Xiaoqi replied casually. It's not a big deal. An experienced hunter taught me these, but he passed away a few years ago. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 48 seconds p.m. Chapter 364. Chapter 364. Rejection. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 364. Rejection. The hunter had instructed him to tell this version to those who asked him where he learned the skills. He was asked not to say anything more than that. Oh, what a pity. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong did not dwell on the matter any longer when they heard that he had learned it from experienced hunter. They even believed that they had been mistaken. They were not very professional people, and they might have been mistaken about Shao Xiaoqi. But one thing was for sure. Shao Xiaoqi would have a promising future if he joined the army. Shao Yunwan smiled. Qi is still too young to leave home. If we can support ourselves at home, our parents would not let him join the army. Yuezheng Shao smiled. Yes, that makes sense. Xie Jingrong nodded and added, if you ever change your mind one day, you can tell me about it. The Xie family had no direct contacts in the military, but it was easy for them to help Shao Xiaoqi. Shao Yunwan thanked Xie Jingrong sincerely. Thank you so much, brother. You are welcome. With a lot of load on their shoulders, they finally decided to head home. They ran into a patch of wild lilies, so they paused to dig some. Lilies could be first steamed and sun-dried, then dried and put away to add to soup, porridge, and even in boiled sugar water. They could also be ground into powder and added to cakes. Fresh lilies were delicious whether they were fried or woked with beef. They looked like snowflakes of petals, extremely beautiful. After they went back home, they sorted and processed the goods. The whole family was used to this kind of work, so everything was settled quickly. They had many hunted animals at home, including 12 roosters, 6 wild rabbits, as well as some other small birds. Autumn muntjac were extraordinarily plump, and so was this one. The fur was shiny, and the meat was firm and tender at first glance. It weighed about the second and third section of the family were all here to check out the spoils from the mountains, so they had to share some with them. They could not put away the meat because it would get rotten, and the villagers would not spend money in buying these animals unless it was for New Year, even though they were sold at a low price. Ms. Fong gave 2 roosters and 1 rabbit to each section of the family. She even shared 5 to 3 kilograms meat of muntjac with them as well. Ms. Niu did not expect that the 2 young masters were here again. She regretted deeply inside her heart and kept complaining about Shao Sanlang and Qi. You went hunting in the mountains? Why didn't you take your second cousin and fourth cousin as well as Miling with you? They could have contributed to your hunt. The two young masters would not have been in mountains before, and they needed to be taken care of. She saved some of her face by avoiding saying directly that Shao Miling would have taken care of them. She was trying to flatter Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng, and her eyes were rolling and glancing at them as she talked. But neither of them spoke to her. Ms. Fong added, they just took a walk around in the mountains. What was the point of bringing so many people alongside? That would only lead to trouble. That is not true. The two young masters are from the city, and they are not born like us rural people. They can't stand the pain, right? We could have taken good care of them. Ms. Neo was still staring at the two young masters, but neither of them turned their heads to look at her. Ms. Fong got so annoyed with her embarrassing behavior that she drove her out and said, "It is getting late, second sister-in-law. How about going home to make dinner? The meat is fresh and needs to be cooked well." Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 47 seconds p.m. Chapter 365. Chapter 365. The jelly made of the creeping figs. If audio player doesn't work, press stop, then play button again. Chapter 365. The jelly made of the creeping figs. Ms. Neo could not help but feel greedy. It was getting very late, and the two young masters must be leaving soon. She could not do anything with the first section of the family around, so she had to leave. But the two young masters did not leave. Instead, they stayed back for dinner. The freshly hunted animals should be excellent to eat. Xiao Xian used all kinds of seasonings and prepared the dinner. They had dried bamboo shoots, fresh mushrooms, and she woke them together for some plain yet delicious homemade dishes. After dinner, Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng left. Xiao Xian said to them with a smile, "Remember to come for breakfast tomorrow morning. We can have steam buns with those meat as fillings." Both of them nodded in agreement. They did come for breakfast the following morning. Xiao Xian and Ms. Su got up early to cook breakfast. The meat of 2 roosters was removed, and the remaining chicken racks were used to cook porridge. The rooster was chopped, and some chopped green onions and shiitake mushrooms were added to make the bun stuffing. The muntjac meat was minced for pies. They added some hot and sour kimchi and chili sauce, making the breakfast look delicious and appetizing. They ate breakfast and headed into the mountains again. Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng loved the landscape of this place. They were not tired at all. They were heading back the following day, so they kept hunting more animals and decided to bring them back home. They were very lucky because Xiao Xian finally found the creeping figs she was looking for. The fruits were slightly bigger than eggs, resembling steam buns. One bush had many fruits on it. Xiao Xian pretended to look surprised. "Oh man, those are the creeping figs, really good things. Pick them, and we can make jelly with them." The creeping figs were sliced open, and there were many thin seeds that could be used to make jelly. This kind of seed could be preserved for a long time after drying. When they wanted to eat jelly, they could just wrap it in gauze and gently scrub it back and forth in water. Then they could add a little gypsum, and it would solidify into transparent jelly. If they could add some almond powder or Blatilla striata powder, they could get jelly with different colors. These can be used to make jelly. Xiao Xiaoqi and Tao Dao were both very surprised. Xiao Xian used grass to make jelly, but did this plant work too? Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. Tao Dao cheered. "Let's pick them." Jelly was a really good thing, and they all loved it. They were so delighted hearing that they could make jelly with this, and that it was preservable. Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng had no idea what it was. "What is jelly?" Xiao Xian smiled. "A kind of snack. Let's go home early today, and I can make some for you. If you like it, we can dry the creeping figs and have them delivered to you." Yuezheng Shao smiled. "Of course, that must be a good thing." They all laughed. They had more than 50 kilograms of the creeping figs, and Xiao Xian asked Shao Xiaoqi to remember this spot because they were going to return in a couple of days to chop some twigs to bring home. They would need to have some figs too. They carried the figs together, so it was not very heavy for them. Then, they continued with the hunting. However, they still failed to run into huge animals, except for a gang of wild boars. They were large in size and had sharp teeth. They did not dare to move until the animals were gone. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 46 seconds p.m., Chapter 366. Chapter 366. Business if audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again, Chapter 366. Business there were large animals in the mountains, many of them actually, but they were not to be hunted. Xiao Xian found a herd of wild sheep, mountain deer, and muntjac several times, but the distance was not close and the mountain road was not easy to walk. By the time they walked over, they would have gone nowhere. They were not professional hunters, and they were not strong enough to run after them. Shao Xiaoqi might be able to cope up, but not the rest. No one would allow Shao Xiaoqi to hunt them down alone anyway. What if something happened to him? Anyways, what they had got was already enough. Back at home, Xiao Xian and Tao Dao started to make the jelly together. The fresh creeping figs worked well. When the jelly that was solidified like crystal in the large porcelain bowl was ready, they used a spoon to scoop small pieces into the small bowl to break it, added the boiled honey syrup and a little mint juice, and carried them out. Everyone from the first section of the family seemed to look forward to the jelly, including the two youngest children who were really eager to eat them. Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng got even more curious about it. When the jelly was finally served, they saw how it looked and became aware that the waiting was worth it. They took a spoonful of it quickly. It was smooth, tender, and elastic. The sweetness of honey and the coolness of mint adjusted the taste of jelly, turning it into a delicious snack. Yuezheng Shao was surprised. How amazing! How can the fruits lead to such a thing? Yuezheng was very impressed as well. They were born noble and had been offered numerous delicious things, but they were only served when the dishes were ready. That was the first time for them to pick the ingredients, make them, and see how the dishes were prepared. So they found the whole thing really interesting. The fruits that looked so ordinary had been turned into such crystal clear jelly after some processing. It looked beautiful and was delicious too. Xiao Xian smiled. Later, I will ask my husband to write the recipe to you, and you should take some of these fresh fruits back. It's too late today, but you can add some chopped walnuts, chopped peanuts, raisins, etc., or even diced fresh fruit to this jelly. It would taste excellent. It's a pity that there is no ice at home. Otherwise, adding crushed ice makes it more delicious. Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng thanked her happily. Yuezheng Shao looked at the couple and suddenly smiled. Brother Shao and sister-in-law, I have an idea. Why don't we open another store and just sell this jelly? Brother Xia, join us as well. You'll find two reliable dessert masters. Besides this jelly, if I think about a few other things, this shop will definitely be operated well. Brother Xie and I pay the cost, and we share the profit equally. As for the raw materials, Brother Shao and the others provide them here, and the store buys them at market prices. Xiao Xian had predicted something like this to happen. She exchanged a look with Shao Yinduan, who did not object, so Xiao Xian smiled. That should work when it gets hotter next year. We can find some fruits before it happens, otherwise the raw materials would not be enough. But we can't just keep looking for fruits, since their availability is totally out of our control. We can buy land and plant them ourselves. Yuezheng Shao smiled vigorously. You can think about this whilst we can find some suitable store for it. We should make it work, though it is a small thing. The profits should be huge. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 45 seconds p.m. Chapter 367. Chapter 367. Not aware if audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 367. Not aware, then they started to have some discussion about the new venture. In this way, the recipe should not be spread around and Yuezheng Shao expressed that they would only ask their most trusted servants to do that, not others. Moreover, they would never tell anyone that the creeping figs were the original material used for making the jelly. Xiao Xian was glad because with Yuezheng Shao's help, she would be able to open the shop soon. All she needed to do henceforth was to lie still and get earnings instead of being worried about getting set up by competitors. Although she did have the plan of opening a few dessert stores after a few years, she also believed that finding a partner would help a lot. However, One store would not bring in much money. Only a chain of shops would help to bring in a lot of profits. They could serve sugar water, jelly as the main dishes whilst adding some exquisite pastries and snacks. As for how they should do that in detail, they needed to have some more discussions. Xiaoxian did not need to worry about page boys that ran errands, because Yuezheng Shao and Xie would help with that. They could arrange someone to do that, and there would be no obstacles for them. It was definitely much easier to do the business in a partnership than being alone. Yuezheng Shao and Xie stayed back at the first section of the family for dinner. Rabbit meat was fried in oil, the roosters were stewed in water, and a few small grouse were simply marinated and then deep-fried. They were the size of pigeons and were easy to cook in a pan. The skin was golden and crispy. The meat was tender and juicy. They made another pot of sauerkraut and mixed fish and stir-fried 2 fresh vegetables. They were going away the following day, but they would visit them and stay overnight when the new house was built. Ms. Fong smiled and nodded at the 2 guests in enthusiasm. Xiaoxian and Ms. Fong prepared a lot for them to bring away, including bergamots, roosters, hares, fresh mushrooms, fungus, some fresh fruits. Since they were leaving, the dinner was prepared ahead of time. They were just about to eat dinner when Shao Liulang and third uncle arrived. Third uncle was feeling a bit displeased. Yinduan, your friends are here. Why not ask your cousin to join you? You just don't know what to do. Shao Liulang had been studying at the college in town for years, and he could figure out people better than his family did. Judging from Xie and Yuezheng Shao's manners, he could tell that they were not in a low position and that they were not just some rich people or ordinary businessmen. Especially Xie, who looked so handsome and well-behaved. He was definitely more than just an elegant man. Shao Liulang let out a sigh of relief. Hearing that the first section of the family was receiving some guests, who were Shao Yunduan's rich friends, he had the intention of coming and seeing what was going on. He did not expect his mother to come with him, because he knew clearly that his mother would ruin his face. He did not even want Xiaoji to come along, fearing that she would cause trouble as well. Hearing what his father said, Shao Liulang interrupted with a gentle tone. Dad, don't say such words about your cousin. We are in a good relationship, and his friends are mine too. He probably thought that I would not like joining them in the mountains, thus he didn't tell me about it. Third uncle was startled. But it is fine. Just go home, Dad. Mom is waiting for you at the dinner table. Third uncle had no idea what made his son do so, yet he believed that he had a reason for his behavior. So he had to press down his questions and quietly left in silence. Shao Liulang walked up in a manner he considered elegant and greeted Xie and Yuezheng Shao with a smile. My name is Shao Yunjiang from Minghua College, Yunduan's 6th cousin. How should I address the 2 of you, Pai? Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 45 seconds p.m. Chapter 368. Chapter 368. Forget if audio player doesn't work? Press stop then play button again. Chapter 368. Forget it, Yuezheng. Shao almost rolled his eyes. Why should I tell you how I am addressed? Shao Yunduan felt very helpless. He did not think that his cousin was leaving any time soon, and he could not drive him away either. Xie and Yuezheng Shao could not just reveal their identity, but mention their surnames. You can call me Young Master Xie. Me too. I am Young Master Yu. Yuezheng Shao said inwardly that not everyone would be allowed to call him Young Master Xie. It was already an honor. Otherwise, they would not even want to look at this young man. Shao Liulang did not find the attitude of the 2 of them embarrassing. He smiled and sat down comfortably. Oh, 2 young masters, greetings. Welcome to our village, Shao Yunduan. Anyway, he decided to keep a low profile. The moment third uncle left, Ms. Fong asked Tao to shut the door. Ms. Fong regretted not having closed the door to avoid the trouble. Seeing the flattering smile on Shao Liulang's face, Ms. Fong could not help but feel furious. Soon the sound of door knocking arose, and instead of opening the door, Tao went to get her mother. Ms. Fong came to open the door with Yang Xiaoni and Tao, seeing that it was Ms. Niu at the doorstep. Ms. Niu glanced at Ms. Fong, who did not let her in, so she snapped angrily. Eldest sister-in-law, what are the 2 young masters doing here again? Why didn't you ask our sons and Miling to join them into the mountains for hunting. You can't possibly be avoiding us just because you have befriended some rich people. Ms. Fong almost fainted out of annoyance. They are Yenduan's friends. Ms. Nyo pursed her lips. So what? My sons can make friends with them too. Those two young men were just slightly richer than they were. So what? Ms. Nyo would never want to befriend them, but for their looks. Those two handsome young masters were just right to become her daughter-in-law. Ms. Nyo was still wondering which young master she should pick for her daughter. Ms. Fong snorted. They like quietness and don't prefer spending time with people they don't know. Ms. Nyo's lips pursed. They can develop friendship, right? Are they leaving soon? Will they come tomorrow? Ms. Fang's eyes rolled as she replied with a sarcastic smile. Of course they are leaving, but I'm not sure if they will come back tomorrow. Ms. Nyo heard that and decided to squeeze in. I will go and ask them. Save your breath. They are leaving soon. Ms. Fong said, You can ask Yuan. Don't try to push your way in. Ms. Nyo was unconvinced. Ms. Fong sneered. Those roosters and wild rabbits are not enough for you. Hearing the threat, Ms. Nyo was still annoyed but did not dare to counter her. All right, I will come and ask Yuan later. Fine. Ms. Fong shut the door and kept Ms. Nyo outside. Ms. Nyo was not convinced, but she did not want to argue with Ms. Fong so as to leave a bad impression on the guests. She stared at the first section of the family's house and decided to wait until the guests came out. She would step forward then to meet them. Let's see if Ms. Fong would be able to stop her. If Miling could marry a good family, the first section of the family would be honored too, right? What were they trying to hide here anyway? The eldest brother kept talking about how united they were as a family. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 44 seconds, p.m., Chapter 369. Chapter 369. Too annoying if audio player doesn't work. Press stop, then play button again. Chapter 369. Too annoying they lived separately, and they only care about themselves. They should not trust him too easily. In the hall room, dishes were served at the table, and Shao Yuan, Shao Sanlang, Shao Xiaoqi as well as Shao Liulang were all keeping the guests company. Shao Dalong and eldest uncle were not yet back. They were not at all shy to talk about everything. Chu Shan and the page boys had been provided food as well. Ms. Fong and Xiao Xian had not yet started to eat, because they were waiting for Shao Dalong, Ms. Su, and eldest uncle to return. Even though Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao ignored Shao Liulang completely, yet he still behaved as if he were very well-mannered and learned so as to leave a good impression on the two young masters. He did not intend to leave when the dinner was served, especially when he saw the delicious dishes on the table. As the strong scent went into his nose, he could not help but swallow down his saliva. Shao Liulang did not believe that the first section of the family had made those dishes. He assumed that Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao had brought the food from some restaurant from the town. That made him feel even more envious. The dishes must have cost a lot because they included meat and were delicious, well-made and filled with rich ingredients. These two young masters were so generous. They must belong to really rich families. As they were seated, Shao Sanlang and Qi also took their seats. But Shao Liulang said, "Third cousin and Qi, you don't read. What's the point of being seated here? You won't understand what we are talking about. You can leave us here instead." Shao Sanlang rolled his eyes. Leaving them here? Whose home was this? He not only came to their home to show off, but even behaved as if he were the master of the family. Shao Sanlang did not want to be talked down to. Before Shao Yuan said a thing, he smiled. "Sixth cousin, this is not right. What about you going back home and asking the third aunt to prepare a table of dishes to treat the two young masters?" Shao Liulang stiffened and asked with displeasure. "What do you mean?" Xie Jingrong said, "Sanlang and Qi are both very nice." Yuezheng Shao laughed. "Let's just eat. We should leave before it gets too dark." Shao Yuan smiled and nodded. "Please." Shao Liulang was quite displeased, but said nothing more. Seeing that everyone started to eat, he could not stand it anymore. He took a piece of meat and bit it, and found that it was delicious. He added half a golden fried grouse, and it was amazing as well. He wished that he could even chew the bones. Shao Liulang kept reminding himself to remain well-mannered, Still, he just could not help but reach for the dishes. He enjoyed it so much that he forgot to suck up to Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao. As a result, Shao Yunduan and Yuezheng, as well as Yuezheng Shao, had a nice chat with each other. It was a good meal, but it was a bit disappointing for some outsiders to get in. Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao didn't eat much, but Shao Sanlang and she didn't want to let Shao Liulang eat too much, so they kept eating. By the end, Shao Liulang was quite full. Yuezheng Shao waved goodbye to Shao Yunduan and Ms. Fong as they put the things on a wagon and were about to leave. Yuezheng Shao had taken away the 1,500 lipsticks and 500 lip balms. Xiao Xian planned to make several more lip balms since they just had this much raw materials. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 43 seconds p.m. Chapter 370. Chapter 370. Goodbye. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 370. Goodbye. Generally speaking, Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao were very satisfied by what happened. They enjoyed the landscape, hunted, ate good food, and started a new business plan. They waved goodbye to each other at the door. Yuezheng tried his best to go forward just to speak a few words with Yuezheng, trying to hold Yuezheng's hands. But Yuedong could not stand it anymore and separated Shao Liulang from Yuezheng. He said impolitely, "Stay away from my young master." Yuezheng glanced at Yuedong and said calmly, Okay. Do not be so rude to Brother Shao's cousin." Hearing that, Xiao Xian almost burst out in laughter. Yuedong apologized. "Sorry for being so straightforward, sorry." Instead of saying anything more, Yuezheng gave him an understanding look. Yuezheng was a very outstanding man and was used to being pestered by outsiders. He knew what to do so as to turn people down, but he had never run into someone as annoying as Shao Liulang. Shao Liulang understood clearly what Yuezheng meant. He forced an embarrassed smile, and his cheeks turned red. Having said the words, Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao went onto the wagon. At the same time, Ms. Niu rushed forward with Shao Miling, whose face was flushed. "Oh, two young masters." Ms. Niu rushed forward and smiled. "It is getting so late. Why not stay for one more night? We have 2 empty rooms for you to stay overnight." "Second aunt, these 2 young masters still have business to do, and anyways, we can entertain them well. Don't worry about it." Shao Yunduan had not wanted to start an argument with them, but they were getting more and more ridiculous. Ignoring him, Ms. Niu shouted, seeing the wagons which were ready to leave. "Two young masters, have you both gotten engaged?" Yuezheng was speechless. Yuezheng Shao chuckled, lifted the curtain, and said, "We are both engaged, and our fiancés are born noble, good at flute, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Even her maids are good at reading and writing poetry." "Ms. Niu." Yuezheng Shao laughed, nodded at Shao Yunduan, and put down the curtains. They left as the coachman whipped the horse. Ms. Fong sneered. "You're older than them, right? How can you ask them such a thing? What would you do if they were not engaged?" Ms. Niu snapped angrily. "I'm just asking, okay? They're my nephew's friends, and they're younger than me. Why can't I ask them about it?" Second aunt. Shao Yunduan threw a cold look at Ms. Niu. "Second aunt and third aunt, stop being so arrogant in the future. We live separately, so don't try to get involved in our business. Also, don't ever think about befriending my friends, otherwise I will do something about it next time." Thank goodness Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao were people with a good temper and had a good relationship with him, otherwise the whole thing would have been so embarrassing. But what about the future? He might make more friends. If every time the second and third section of the family kept getting themselves involved in his business, it would be very troublesome for all. What? Remember what I said, second aunt. Shao Yunduan said coldly and left. He wasn't a very talkative person, nor did he get angry easily. So, when he did get angry, Ms. Niu and Ms. Fong were both startled. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 42 seconds p.m., Chapter 371. Chapter 371. Son-in-law. If audio player doesn't work, Press stop then play button again. Chapter 371. Son-in-law Ms. Fong, who had been holding down her anger for the whole day, finally lost it upon hearing what Shao Yunduan said. She sneered at Ms. Niu. Heard that? Stop messing around. Why can't you just live your own life well? Why do you keep causing others trouble? I will not be nice to you anymore. If you continue like this, Ms. Niu told herself that they had never been nice to them. Ignoring her, Ms. Fong and her family went back to their home and shut the door. Ms. Niu said furiously, "What are you so angry about? You're just mean people who get lucky. What is the point of being so conceited just because you have got a rich daughter-in-law?" Ms. Niu mumbled and left hesitantly. She was totally disappointed. Her son-in-laws were gone. Why were they engaged? That was such a pity. Ms. Niu dropped the idea when the two young masters were engaged. It was never easy to break an engagement, but Shao Miling looked disappointed. Shao Miling felt so ashamed when hearing what Ms. Fong said to her, and had almost dropped the idea. But she got totally dumbfounded when she saw the two young masters personally. The two young masters looked so handsome that she just could not move her eyes off them. She had never seen such good-looking people before. Shao Miling became very excited about getting married, far more than her mother did. But the dream was broken so suddenly. When Ms. Niu left, Shao Liulang got startled and brought himself back as he knocked at the door. "Fifth cousin, please." He had a lot to ask Shao Yunduan regarding the two young masters. He had never met such characters at the college, and he had never heard of them before either. But they were so outstanding that they would always draw attention. How did Shao Yunduan get to know them? Shao Yunduan stood in front of him as the door was opened. He asked coldly, "What else do you want?" Shao Liulang could not help but feel a bit timid. But the next second he got a bit furious and asked with displeasure, "Fifth cousin, why do you speak with me like this? I never want to mess around with you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can behave arrogantly in front of me." Shao Yunduan stared at him coldly. "Shao Liulang, your behavior was way over the top. They are my friends, not yours. I hope you bear my words in mind, and don't try to pretend as if you were the master of the family and speak some strange words." Shao Liulang got so furious that he could not utter a word. Shao Yunduan shut the door after throwing a cold look at him. Shao Liulang did not realize what happened after standing at the door for a long while. He clenched his teeth and said, "What are you being so arrogant about? The two young masters did not complain about me. You were just jealous of me having nice chat with them." Shao Liulang always spoke well of himself, and he was not even bothered to conceal that. He just felt so ashamed to have his drawback been pointed out. How dare Shao Yunduan speak to him like this? That was so irritating. Did he think that he was going to turn to him for help? He should wait and see who would be the beggar in the future. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 41 seconds p.m. Chapter 372. Chapter 372. Know next time if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 372. Know next time only his cousin had influential friends? He had friends too. He was going to bring his friends home for him to take a good look at. Shao Liulang left angrily. After dinner, eldest uncle looked at Shao Yunduan with a confused yet long-sighted look. Yunduan. Shao Yunduan looked at his father in a composed way, and eldest uncle subconsciously stopped himself. "Dad, if you're going to talk about what happened today, you can stop right here. Brother Xie and Yuezheng are my very important friends, and they can't be troubled. Second aunt keeps asking about their marital status whenever she runs into them. Do you think that is a proper thing to do? The sixth cousin is so arrogant that he thinks highly of himself. They didn't say a thing about it, otherwise it would look really bad on our family. If I pass the examination, there will be more such guests in the future. If they keep messing up like this time, do you think that I can afford to offend every guest? Not everyone is so good-tempered like Brother Xie and Yuezheng. I'm letting you know there is no next time. If they continue to act like this, we'll drive them away without any negotiation." Having said that, Shao Yunduan left with Xiao Xian. If his relatives behaved like that all the time, he would lose all his friends and have his reputation ruined. Also, if he passed the examination, The guests might not be here for real friendship, but just for connection and reputation, which should be regarded with even more care. If those relatives kept behaving like this, something bad would definitely happen sooner than later. Shao Yunwan did not care about their behavior in the past, but they kept giving him trouble again and again. Eldest uncle realized that his son was very angry this time, and he felt quite guilty and almost didn't say anything. But when thinking about the whole family, eldest uncle felt perturbed, so he added, Yunwan is getting more and more irritable. Second sister-in-law didn't behave well, but she loves her daughter. Anyways, I will speak with her about it. Liulang is also a learned person, and he was simply sitting there entertaining the guests. Ms. Fong sneered. Ms. Niu is totally shameless. If I had not stopped her, she would have taken Miling straight to the two young masters. She even suggested that Miling should take care of them. That sounds so horrible. I felt so embarrassed by her. How could she have done something like that? You have totally spoiled her. Let me tell you, if they ruin my son's business, I will kill them all. Eldest uncle's face changed. How could that be possible? Also, Liulang, honestly speaking, is so stupid and old-fashioned. He can't read or do any work, but he pretends as if he has read a lot. Who would even want to talk with him? Letting him receive guests. He came over without being invited, and he drove Yunwan away because he thought he was the owner of the house. I got so disgusted by how he tried to suck up the two young masters. They could not even eat a comfortable dinner. They love talking with you privately, so you can tell them that they should stop being so disgusting. Eldest uncle. He was both angry and sad. How could they behave like this? After the guests were gone, Qiao Xian, Ms. Su, and Tao Dao started to make lip balms again. They had little beeswax remaining, and they finished making lip balms within a few days. After this, they were going to resume making lipsticks after the end of next spring, when they harvested honey and got the wax. Qiao Xian was not in a hurry. Rare things were always precious, and she had made it with her own special skills. No one would be able to steal her market, even when she ran out of stock. Instead, people would crave for them more than before. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 40 seconds p.m., Chapter 373. Chapter 373. T-Seeds. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 373. T-Seed. She had more than 10,000 liang, and when the lip balms were sold out, she would earn 12,000 liang in total. She had so much savings. Qiao Xian also gave money to her family after selling the lipsticks and lip balms. Ms. Fong received 100, and the others obtained more than 10 liang. Everyone present had made efforts and worked carefully and hard for her. What she needed to do was to teach them how to do the work, so she could let them be on their own. That saved her a lot of trouble, and for that, she offered them good profits. When lipsticks were done, Qi, Tao Tao, Shao Sanlang, and Yang Xiaoni went into the mountains again to find the creeping figs. She decided to buy some more land at the Zhang village to plant the creeping figs. But the fruits would not be harvested until autumn. They would need to find some more fruits to open the dessert stores. If the wild-growing creeping figs were not enough, then the opening of the dessert stores would need to be postponed. They could sell other desserts to start with, but the first reactions would not be that striking. The crystal-clear jelly was not only good in appearance and in taste, but also had strong plasticity. It could be paired with crushed nuts, fresh fruits, syrup, milk, and many other things. Even Xie and Yuezheng, Shao had never seen it before. Therefore, the jelly had to be used as the top-selling item for the store. The creeping figs were climbing plants, and they were growing in a large area. Qiao Xian used her superpower and saw a big patch of it. They spent more than 3 days getting all the fruits home from the deep valley. They were all so motivated to get those fruits home because they could be used to produce such excellent dessert. Finally, they had quite a lot in stock. Thinking that the tea trees they had planted should ripen by this point, the whole gang went to pick the seeds of tea together. Qiao Xian was going to store the seeds for the next spring, so she could cultivate the buddings and do the transplantation. She was going to use her superpower to make the trees grow faster, better, and healthier, which solved all the problems of transplantation that everyone else worried about. She was going to dig some buds from the mountains for the land, which would need to be expanded. When the planting was done, they could just wait to receive the money. They came to the forest of the golden sprouts. It was not the time for tea harvesting, but the trees grew so well that every leaf seemed to be lush and vibrant. As they approached the tea trees, they could smell the scent that freshened up their mind. Xiaoxian could not help but take a deep breath. The excellent tea leaves were really outstanding. There were many tea seeds falling down in the bush. Xiaoxian ignored those that had not yet ripened on the twigs. The unripe tea seeds could not be used as the real seeds. It was not very easy to pick the right tea seeds from such a messy bush. They had no other tricks except for using their eyes and hands to seek carefully and pick. They needed to be very cautious when they were doing the work, in case they damaged their fingers. Xiaoxian smiled. "We are working so hard today. Let's have a delicious dinner tonight." Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 40 seconds p.m. Chapter 374. Chapter 374. More land if audio player doesn't work. Press stop, then play button again. Chapter 374. More land that cheered up everyone. They laughed and agreed to her proposal heartily. It was never easy to make a table full of dishes, especially when it came to the people who ate a lot. Xiaoxian did not cook every day. Normally, it was Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni who cooked, and Tao Dao helped now. Ms. Zu's cooking skills had improved a little, mainly because she was willing to put seasonings and knew how to put various condiments such as oil, salt, sauce, and vinegar together. In addition to the vegetables in the yard, there were also dried bamboo shoots, various dried mushrooms, and fish, shrimp, meat, tofu, and other delicious ingredients that were cooked over a fast fire, and the taste would be equally good. Xiaoxian had thought that the seeds could be picked within one day, but the time was limited, and she had to postpone the work of golden sprouts. It seemed that they needed to work one more day to pick the lavender. After around a week, when a new patch ripened, they could come and pick it again. That was very troublesome, and the harvest was full, so Xiaoxian made a calculation and found that there should be at least 20 or 25 kilograms of it. The seeds were raven, plumpy, oily on the surface, looking really good. Xiaoxian could easily feel that what was hidden under the shell was full of liveliness. They did not stay late in the mountains. By the time they went home, the sun was just setting. They gathered the seeds, and after taking a shower, Xiaoxian started to make the dinner. She had already put dried shrimps and dried hairtail in hot water, and now they were ready. She even put some sea cucumbers and abalones in water, but she was going to leave them until tomorrow, since it was very late to make it this evening. Dishes like braised sea cucumber with scallion and braised abalone and soy sauce had been made twice before, and her family loved them. They went into the mountains and brought some things back, including shrimps, hairtails, and one rooster. The dishes included roasted shrimp in tomato sauce, refreshing and sweet, and pan-fried octopus, which was tender and delicious. The rooster was made with garlic and green onion as the main condiment, so they had one dish made of ginger and spring onion chicken. Ms. Fong had bought 2 chunks of tofu. She cut them, fried them, and cooked them with mushrooms. They picked some vegetables from the garden, and finally everything was set. The whole family had not eaten dishes made by Xiaoxian in days, so they could not help but eat one more bowl of food. The following day, they brought some seeds of lavender home. There were not as many as those of golden sprouts, but there were not 2 less as well. They could do one more round of harvesting. Xiaoxian had not expected that they could fill up the 5 mu of the field at one go. She had not hired people for this level of project, and they could barely manage it personally, so they would take the amount step by step. They would plant one more patch in the following year. Xiaoxian felt a bit guilty when the whole family was helping her diligently. So she told Shao Yunduan that she would buy some things in the town when he went to the college, like winter clothes and so on. "We will go to the agent and buy some more land for the creeping figs. We will plant over dozens of mu. And we will need to find people to open the land in the Tea Mountains. We can speak with the land officer at the Zhang village. If the villagers are willing to help us, we can hire some from the nearby place, so they could also earn some money." Shao Yunwan nodded and then looked at her. We are not living there, and Uncle Erju is taking care of things for us. We should visit the land officer if we need his help. I agree. Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 39 seconds p.m., Chapter 375. Chapter 375. College if audio player doesn't work. Press stop, then play button and again, Chapter 375. College the land officer of the Zhang village was a little greedy, but Xiao Xian did not care much about it. But the premise was that no one should not try to trick her and Shao Yunduan as if they were fools. They reached an agreement. They would go to the town together on the day when Shao Yunduan intended to head to Minghua College. Xiao Xian had 2 large bergamots and decided to take them to Mingrintang and give them to Manager Qin. Xiao Xian already asked Shao Yunduan if he was going to give some things to the teachers at college. Shao Yunduan shook his head and turned her offer down. The 3 teachers at Minghua College were not outstanding in knowledge, and they were not the same when treating others. One person called Mr. Zhou was even worse. He treated those students from a rich family in a friendly manner and even inquired about how they were doing, but he always ignored students like Shao Yunduan who hailed from the village. Before Shao Yunduan became the cultivated talent, they did not think that he was promising at all. It was not until he became a cultivated talent and married Xiao Xian when they started to treat him nicely and passionately for a while. Later, when they realized that the Qiao family never visited him and he did not talk about his relationship with the Qiao family, and that Xiao Xian was just a concubine's daughter, they tried to stay away from him. But for being the cultivated talent, they would even drive him out of the college. The 3 teachers had been living in town, and they hung out with rich people sometimes. So, they were quite knowledgeable and were different from normal villagers. They could clearly see how the Qiao family treated Shao Yunduan. Xiao Xian must be a disgraced daughter of a concubine. Hence, the Qiao family would not like this son-in-law of theirs. Therefore, they would not mingle with Shao Yunduan. As a result, even Shao Yunduan treated them like ordinary teachers. They were given some small presents, and during festivals they were given a dozen eggs and 1 or 2 chickens. That was all. Xiao Xian had no idea what was going on at the college, but she followed what her husband told her. As Xiao Xian reached Mingrintang, Manager Qin was extremely cordial to her after not seeing her for a long time. His eyes were sparkling seeing the 2 large golden fruits. He could not help but praise them. Bergamot was one of the best tributes offered to the ancestors of gods and Buddhas. For those who were a little more particular, there must always be a pair of big bergamots served at home. But it was not easy to get the top-grade big bergamots, because in the process of growth, bergamot was easy to get scratches, and the bergamot with scratches could only be used to fumigate the house as a decoration or as medicine. Madams and ladies from rich people really liked bergamots. When Xiao Xian offered the present, Manager Qin decided to take them home to his mother, who would get really pleased. He would be very happy when his mother was happy. He could not help but ask Xiao Xian, "Mrs. Shao, do you have any other similar ones? If yes, please spare some to me, and I will buy them at a reasonable price." It was a great thing as presents. Xiao Xian smiled. "You are too late, Manager Qin. It is not easy to get the fruits without scratches. We only had 4, and the other 2 have been given to young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng." Manager Qin was startled. He was very surprised that Xiao Xian was hanging out with the 2 young masters. "Oh, that is a pity. But if you have more in the future, spare some for me too. Okay?" Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. "No problem." Published at 28th of August, 2023, 12:40 and 38 seconds p.m. Chapter 376. Chapter 376. The Creeping Figs if audio player doesn't work, press stop, then play button and again, Chapter 376. The Creeping Figs Manager Qin laughed and thanked her. He was not going to steal the fruits from young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng. They had a small chat, and after that Xiao Xian went shopping. She went to the cloth shop first and bought a lot of fabrics suitable for cutting clothes in autumn and winter. The ones she had bought in the province were not meant for winters. After that, she paid page boys to deliver them to Mingrintang, which the page boys agreed to. She also bought some skincare products at the cosmetics store. Lipsticks were already very popular, and Shao overheard some rich ladies and madams talking about lipsticks at the store. The women were greedy for the lipsticks, and they kept urging the manager to see if she could get some samples from the province. Even paying 7 Liulang for one lipstick was okay for them. Their housekeepers had been to the province many times, but they all failed to buy even one. The manager smiled helplessly. She would very much like to buy the lipsticks, which were famous everywhere by now, but it was the third young master of the Yuezheng family who ran the business. Moreover, they always ran out of stock as soon as they were placed on the shelf. Where was the chance for finding spare ones for the outsiders? The lipsticks were precious and extremely short in supply. The manager just could not get the chance to get even one. Shao was quite surprised. She had not expected that such highly priced lipsticks could be sold in this small town, but the truth was that all women loved to look pretty. Her lipsticks were the only existing products in the whole world, and no one would be able to resist the charm. They still had many spices prepared at home, and those things did not go bad so quickly. She had bought them from the province. She walked around the market and decided to take some pork home. Fresh pork would last a few days under such weather. She bought ribs, pork belly, hind legs, pork knuckles, as well as pork liver, pork belly, spending nearly 300 won at one go. The butcher sold her the meat with an enthusiastic smile and gave her a pig heart as a present. Shao thanked the butcher with a smile and began to think about what to cook in her heart. She thought about making stewed pork ribs, deep-fried pork ribs this evening, sweet and sour braised pork the next day, and half of the pork belly will be made of twice-cooked pork and half steamed with noodles. She decided to make stir-fried hind legs and salted pork knuckles for the day after tomorrow. Pork belly, pork liver, and pork heart were all prepared for tonight. After processing the remaining ones, she could fry the hot and sour pork belly, pork heart, and pork liver with pickled vegetables. Ginger slices would be used to remove the strange smell from the meat. Scallops and eels would be added to make it more delicious. She was drooling for pork which she had not eaten in a long time. After delivering the meat back to the pharmacy, Shao went to the market and bought a few more things. Then she went into a restaurant, ate one bowl of noodles before heading back to Mingra and Ting, where she waited for Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan met her at the scheduled time. They went to fetch the agent, rented a wagon, and headed straight to Zhang village. The agent did not turn down such a huge business deal, though he was very curious about what they wanted to do with so much land. But he knew that he should not ask them about this. The land officer of the Zhang village did not hesitate to sell them the mountain land, which was not that valuable anyways. Shao Yunduan expressed that he would like to hire someone to clear up the land, which pleased the land officer as well. He promised that as long as the staff were properly paid, they would work hard and well. The villagers had run out of farm work after the autumn harvest. They could do some extra work and save a little money for the new year. No one would turn such an offer down. Chapter 377. Tea Mountain. After the agreement was reached, Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan went to visit Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou. The couple were very pleased to see them and received them in the main room. Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian had paid a visit to them during the autumn harvest, which was a month ago. Ms. Zhou poured some tea for them, and Ding Erju talked about what was going on with them these days. Hearing that they were going to open up the barren mountain, Ding Erju became serious and attentive. We already spoke with the land officer about this. Uncle Erju, you could decide regarding who to hire and how to manage it well. It would be best if we can sort out at least 500 mu of tea mountains before the new year. 300 mu of it should be ready for the planting of tea trees. Apart from these lands, there will be another land as large as 100 mu, which would be for other plants. Ding Erju nodded constantly. Okay, I will speak with the land officer in the afternoon and take over the job. The tenants are available right now, and with the help from the Zhang village, we can definitely clear through 300 to 500 mu of land. That's good. Xiao Xian smiled. If anyone asks about the salary, we are offering 31 a day and lunch included. The lunch will be meat and vegetable steamed buns or rolls. They could not specify the dishes because there should be at least more than 100 people working together when the project starts, so steam buns made everything easier. Aunt Zhou, you can make some steam buns with a few women at the village, and they should be paid 21 a day. You could buy the fillings from town, and at least 1/3 of the fillings should be meat. Xiao Xian believed that labor should be well served so that they could be full of energy to work harder. 31 a day was considered to be a high payment. Ding Erju felt concerned on their behalf, so he said, the salary is too high, and the competition would be fierce. That would be quite troublesome. If it was 15 a day, that would be a relatively average price for those who craved to earn some money, and those who were selected to work for them would not protest. But 31 a day would be really appealing for everyone to come and join them. It would be very difficult to choose whom to hire, and those who could not be hired would definitely complain. After all, 70% of the villagers were surnamed Zhang, and Xiao Xian and her husband were outsiders. They just could not be a match against those who were local residents. High payment and one lunch, which served meat steam buns, that would be so tantalizing for anyone. Hearing Ding Erzu's thoughts, Xiao Xian was startled. She had just felt that the work would require a lot of energy, and 31 per day was something within her budget. But Ding Erzu knew more about how those farmers were thinking. Shao Yinduan looked at her gently and smiled. He knew pretty well what his wife was thinking. 31 a day is a bit much. What about 21 plus lunch? But we need to set a rule, like 2 steam buns with fillings and 2 pure steam buns, 1 steamed roll for each worker. Those who don't take lunch would get extra pay. The size of steam buns with fillings can be as big as that available in the market, while the steam buns and rolls can be larger. It should be enough for 1 adult for lunch. Xiao Xian smiled. Okay, that sounds great. As for the workers, each tenant's family can offer 1 person, and we would hire them all. Chapter 378. Hiring. Apart from the tenants, there should be at least 100 households in Zhang Village, right? Just see how many of them want to join the project. If everyone wants to be part of it, then we can only divide them into 2 batches, 1 for every other day, and only 1 person is hired from each household. Shao Yinduan added, we only need strong young men, and other people can join if a family doesn't have strong young men. Ding Erzu nodded and said with a smile, Okay, I understand what I should do after hearing your plan. 21 a day with lunch, that is tempting for everyone, except for those who are too lazy to work. The 3 of them talked more in detail regarding how to separate the groups and exclude those who were lazy at work but active in eating and getting money. Gradually, everything was sorted. Shao Yinduan and Xiao Xian would come to them again after 3 days, when Ding Erzu and the land officer completed the final deal. If all went well, the project could start real soon. Xiao Xian looked at their house and smiled. This house is okay for the moment, but not for the winter. We need to have someone watch over the tea land, and to have grain stored and the creeping figs planted. We will need to have 1 place for that. When the tea trees are done, we will build a huge house here, and both of you can move in. Ding Erzu and Ms. Zhou had been thinking about going into the town and buying some paper to add to the walls of this wooden house. They even thought about saving some money to buy coals and blankets and make some thick winter clothes, but Xiao Xian started to talk about building a house. Xiao Xian had mentioned it once before, but she and Shao Yinduan never mentioned that again. So Ding Erzu and Ms. Zhou did not take it seriously. Maybe they had some other plans and decided to leave this one aside. After all, Xiao Xian and Shao Yinduan did not owe them anything. They needed to solve their problems themselves rather than wait for the new house to be built. Hence, they were both shocked upon hearing what Xiao Xian said. Shao Yinduan added his view as well. It is time to have it built, otherwise it would be inconvenient. Yeah, I want to dig a pool to raise fish and plant lotus roots too. Ding Erzu felt quite embarrassed. All right, then we will move into the new place. Thanks to you again, when we have more money in the future, we will build 2 more rooms. Xiao Xian smiled. Just live here if you want to, and we will build the house next to ours, which is very convenient. They had a son, and they could not possibly just live in the house which Shao Yinduan and Xiao Xian built. So for a long-term plan, they still needed to build one for themselves. Ding Erju smiled brightly and nodded. Ms. Zhou was very glad as well. Before the couple left, Ms. Zhou asked Xiao Xian, "Dear niece-in-law, can I ask my mother to help me with steaming buns? Sure Tu is still too young to go about by himself, and I need someone to watch out for him in case he runs into something unpleasant." Ms. Zhou was a mild person, but her mother was not so gentle. Ms. Zhou needed her mother to back her up. If the women who worked took them at will, or their children came to fetch them, or even the children from the village offered the eagerness to fetch the steamed buns, Ms. Zhou would be too timid to say no. Xiao Xin smiled. "That is a good idea. I was worried whether you could spare more time and energy into it. It would be good that your mother comes over. The land officer's wife could help as well. Both your mother and the land officer's wife can earn 31 a day, and you will be paid monthly, which is not included in this." Chapter 379, Uncaring Mess. Zhou let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "I don't work that much, and I am still getting paid. Now that I have work to do, I can't get extra payment this time." Xiao Xin laughed. "You have helped us a lot. Without your help, we would not have harvested the rice so smoothly." The tenants had no idea who on earth Shao, Yunduan, and Xiao Xin were, except that they were from outside the village. But for the couple who watched them doing the harvest, they might not have been honest in their efforts. Some might even have harvested some to their own home first. But during the harvest, there was always someone who was watching them work. Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju were both quite embarrassed. That is what we ought to do. After Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan left, Xiao Xian still believed that the payment was quite low. She smiled at Shao Yunduan. "If all goes well after we are done, we can even give the red packets to each laborer. I think 51 should be good enough. What do you think?" Shao Yunduan nodded and said to her, "You can spread the news around, so they may work harder for that goal." Xiao Xian's eyes brightened as she chuckled. "Yeah, they should be motivated enough not to cause any trouble or allow anyone else to cause trouble." Shortly after Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan were gone, Ding Erju went to visit the land officer of the Zhang village. The land officer always believed that Ding Erju was Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan's relatives, so he treated him very politely. They had a very smooth and happy conversation during the deal. Xiao Xian knew that the local hooligans had some reputation in the village, and the land officer of the local area should be given some extra benefits for containing them. When the land officer got the benefits, Xiao Xian would get him to hire the villagers to work for him so he could be pleased too. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan went back to the town, fetched what they left at Manager Qin I's place, and headed home. Bull car was a bit slow, and Xiao Xian smiled. "When a new house is built, let's buy a donkey cart for faster traveling." Shao Yunduan nodded. When a new house was built, they would have a lot of space to put the donkey cart as well. They could not think about buying a wagon, since it was quite difficult to obtain. Even those rich people in town would not be able to afford a horse sometimes. When they went back home, they shared the presents with the whole family. Those presents were of different categories, including clothes, food, and daily necessities. Miss Fong smiled with a sigh. "We all have savings, and we can buy what we need ourselves. You don't have to buy us anything. You and Yunduan should save money for future use." Miss Fong firmly believed that her son would make it to the next level, and his studying would cost a lot of money. Xiao Xin smiled. "Don't worry, Mom. We barely spend any money, and we have savings as well. Also, we are making a lot of money too, right?" Miss Fong chuckled. "True, and that is all because you helped us with it." Miss Su was very delighted. She had been thinking about making winter clothes, either with her own money or the shared savings. But Xiao Xian had brought so many materials home, even cotton, that saved her a lot of money. Yang Xiaoni was glad too. She placed the garment on herself, asking her husband if she looked nice. Chapter 380, Unwatchable Shao. Sam Lang nodded and kept speaking highly of his wife's good looks. Yang Xiaoni felt bashful. Her cheeks were flushed, but her eyes were sparkling, and she smiled brightly. Ms. Fong did not look at them, while the rest pretended not to have seen the whole episode. The couple had always been like this, and the rest of the family was used to it by now. 3 days later, Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan went to the Zhang village with the required money. They finalized the deal with Ding Erzhu, Ms. Zhou's mother, land officer, and his wife regarding opening the barren land. All the villagers at the Zhang village were glad about this project, and almost every household applied to work on it. So they were divided into 2 batches and took turns in doing the labor work. The land officer received a huge red packet, and he was highly motivated. He said that he was going to watch over everybody so that nobody would get lazy during the work hours. Hearing that there would be an even bigger red packet after the project was done, the land officer became even more delighted. Xiao Xian smiled. We would need many more laborers for our tea mountains. Work hard, and we will hire more people. Those that don't work hard would have to be excluded, and we would hire people from other villages, the land officer nodded. Don't worry. We are all down-to-earth people, and we will work hard. I will get rid of those sneaky ones for you. The land officer and his wife felt energized and devoted when he heard that there would be more money to make in the future. The wife was going to be in charge of making steam buns, and she would be able to take a few more since she was in charge. That was such a great deal that should not be let go of. No one would allow anyone to make trouble about this. Most of the workers were those who needed such temporary tasks. Seeing that Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan were able to afford the land, they suspected that they had some mysterious and powerful supporters behind their back, thus not daring to cause trouble for them. So soon, the work started full-fledgedly at Zhang village. The first morning was a bit chaotic, but at noon everyone queued up and got to eat steam buns. Not only were they big, but the meaty buns were really full of meat when they took a bite. Everyone finally believed that the owner didn't lie, and the wages must be the same. So they were definitely going to work hard to earn the extra red packets of bonuses. They worked obediently and occasionally. There were a few who got lazy, but before Ding Erzhu and the land officer's son reprimanded them, and everyone slowly straightened out. Everything went well. No chaos appeared, generally speaking. Steam buns were steamed on a temporary stove in front of Ding Erzhu's house. Needless to say, the 7 working women and their children who came to have fun ate together at noon. Also, the other children came to the stove as well around lunchtime. They were all drooling for the steam buns by the time they were cooked. Not every household was able to afford to eat steam buns like these. Xiao Xian wasn't an unscrupulous person. Although the flour used to make steam buns was not the best, it was still quite good. The authentic flour was steamed in a big steamer, and it gave out a strong fragrance. The land officer's wife did not want to offend the fellow villagers, so she could not do anything about the situation. She could not even drive away people who were queuing up for the steam buns. Ms. Zhou was not capable of turning them down alone. But Ms. Zhou's mother used a huge basket to hold steam buns and rolls and gave them to each child until the basket was emptied. Those who failed to get the steam buns could queue up the next day. Chapter 381. Almost the children left cheerfully after they ate, but those who did not manage to get the buns refused to move. Aunt Zhou, Ms. Zhou's mother, coaxed them away and asked them to come back earlier next time. Some women could not help but complain. But we have so many left. Let's just give them one. Aunt Zhou said, the owner is too kind-hearted, but we can't just indulge ourselves. They make money with hard work too. 40 steamed buns for free every day. That is so generous of our owner. How about we not offer any starting from tomorrow, so we all save trouble? The woman said with a smile, No, you are right. Our owner is already generous enough, and I should not have said such a thing. If the 40 free steamed buns and rolls were gone because of what she said, many people would blame her for being nosy. Her intention was to show her generosity through others' generosity, but she did not want to ruin what existed right now. The woman regretted so much as not to say such a thing. The land officer's wife could not help but add, Aunt Zhou is right. We need to stick to the rules. Our owner is so generous and kind like no other. We can't just get carried away and offer free food for our children too. We need to be reasonable, since we're being paid well. The others nodded in agreement. Not everyone was able to eat steamed buns throughout the year. But for the owner's agreement, Aunt Zhou would not have done so. If they offered more than they should, they might offend people and get complained about. Maybe all children from the village would hear about it and come to fetch the free steamed buns. What should they do then? Moreover, who would pay for the extra steamed buns? A few days after this happened, Qiao Xian and Shao Yunwan came to check on the situation, and Aunt Zhou told them about this. Feeling grateful, Qiao Xian gave Aunt Zhou and the land officer's wife 2 red packets, each of which contained 21. Surprising fortune would always cheer people up. The land officer's wife had understood one thing. If they work hard, they would always get some bonus. She would have gained nothing extra if she did not interfere, whilst others would take advantage of it. Qiao Xian and Shao Yunwan were quite assured in heart, seeing the field clearing project went well. Small problems and some fees could be ignored. They decided not to split hairs on those who work for them and had everything sorted out smoothly. They could even stop giving the children steamed buns and rolls or drive them away, but that would cause a lot of conflict and dissatisfaction in the near future. If some accident happened, the villagers might offer a helping hand or just stand around watching the show, depending upon their treatment of the villagers. They could not keep asking for help without giving anything in return, which would make them look miserly and wicked. Proper kindness and generosity would make people feel grateful and cherish what they got now. Being kind without asking anything in return often caused trouble. Seeing that everything went well, Qiao Xian and Shao Yunwan were totally assured, and they came to check things every 5th or 6th day. Chapter 382. Xiao Lulang's guest. When they got some time to spare, Qiao Xian checked around in the yard and floral field, planning the dessert stores. Tao Dao and Qi offered their help as well. Whether or not the results turn out to be successful, the family did not complain. Instead, they ate up all the failed dishes. Yang Xiaoni was especially glad. She was so happy to be able to eat different desserts every day. Qiao Xian was thinking about asking Yuezheng Shao to pay attention to a few ingredients, such as sagos, cassavas, and sweet potatoes. The Yuezheng family was involved in vast businesses, and they had more information and other resources than she did. Sagos were very useful for desserts. Cassavas could be made into powder for the small balls put in milk tea. Sweet potatoes could be made into many things. Qiao Xian tried to use flour to free up some starch, and made taro balls with steamed, mashed taro puree, and pumpkin puree. They looked good, but did not have good texture. Seasoned with honey, sweet sugar juice, Qiao Xian was not very satisfied with it. They definitely needed cassava's powder. So she was going to suggest Yuezheng Shao to raise some cows to produce milk. But it was not very easy to obtain cows, which might not be able to produce so much milk anyway. There were many small things to deal with if such a store was opened, but the profits would be magnificent as well. Seeing that there were not so many fish remaining in the tank, Qiao Xian decided to go to the river to fetch some fish in the afternoon with Qi, Tao Dao Yang Xiaoni, and Shao Sanlang. It was already very cold, and they could not possibly go into the water, but they had a fish net that could be used to get some. But by lunchtime, Shao Lulang suddenly arrived with a strange-looking young master. Yang Xiaoni went to open the door, and she was very startled seeing the 2 young men. Shao Lulang looked quite proud. "Fifth cousin, are you here? My friend and I are here for a visit." The young man next to Shao Lulang was wearing a sapphire blue satin gown with a cross collar, and his hair was tied high. He was about 22 or 23 years old. He was tall and thin, with fair skin, but his face was a bit long, and his eyes were cloudy, giving people a rather frivolous and indecent feeling. He was very arrogant. He did not like this place, nor did he like Shao Lulang. But Shao Lulang seemed to suck up to him constantly these days and invited him to his home multiple times. He turned the guy down enough times, but he was feeling bored at the moment, so he nodded and agreed to come. The moment the door was opened and the young master saw Yang Xiaoni, his eyes started sparkling. He straightened his back, trying to look as if he were a real gentleman who behaved gracefully. However, a pretentious man who had a terrible appearance just looked ridiculous when he tried to act like a gentleman. Yuezheng Shao had met real young masters like Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao. So when she saw someone like this in front of her, she laughed. The way he looked at her made Yang Xiaoni feel quite disgusted. Yang Xiaoni was a very sensitive woman and figured out that this was not a good man at all. But this seemingly elegant man smiled at Yang Xiaoni, who got startled and took a few steps backwards. The young master laughed, even more proudly, seeing her behavior. He thought that Yang Xiaoni was just feeling shy. Yang Xiaoni turned around and left directly, ignoring Shao Liulang completely. Chapter 383. Proud, the young master smiled even more proudly when he saw Yang Xiaoni's retreating figure. Shao Liulang frowned, but then smiled at the young master. She is just a countryside woman who doesn't know how to behave. Don't get angry, okay? Young Master Zhao was not mad. Instead, he looked sleazy and laughed. Who is that? Shao Liulang had always been trying to suck up to young Master Zhao, who never spoke to him of his own accord. Hearing his question, Shao Liulang said, "My cousin's wife." He could not help but complain. She is from the Yang family. Her brother and sister-in-law are such horrible people. Our family should not have married someone like this. But my cousin fell for her, so he insisted on marrying her, no matter what. Shao Liulang shook his head and said disdainfully, "My cousin is so simple-minded. He just likes her look, not anything else about her. So stupid." Young Master Zhao laughed as he thought of Yang Xiaoni's looks. He smiled. This girl did look very pretty, and it was quite normal that she could fascinate some men. But what a pity that she married a countryside man. It was like putting a beautiful flower upon cow dung. Hearing Shao Liulang coming in, Miss Fong came out of the room and frowned at him. "What are you doing here? And who is this man?" Miss Fong glanced at young Master Zhao and felt disgusted inwardly. This man looked so pretentious. She was experienced enough to understand immediately what young Master Zhao was like. Shao Liulang looked very proud. Young Master Zhao is the second young master of Master Zhao in the city, my fellow classmate at the college. He is here visiting me, and we came over to talk to my fifth cousin. Shao Liulang looked so proud, as if he were showing off. Look how generous he was to have brought his friend with him. He was sharing his friend network with Shao Yunwan. Miss Fong did not get what Shao Liulang meant. She did not like this young Master Zhao, but they were here after all, so she could not drive them away. She asked Chi to fetch Shao Yunwan. She was thinking about speaking with Yundan not to talk with this man too much, because he looked absolutely ill-mannered. Shao Yunwan was reading in the room, and Xiao Xian, Tao Tao were in the yard, working. Hearing the sound of door knocking, Shao Yunwan walked and was surprised to see young Master Zhao. He knew this man, for sure, the younger son of Master Zhao and Zhao Ming's brother. Zhao Guanghua was studying at a college in the province and did not come back until the beginning of the year. News spread that he came back home because he had a fight at a brothel with someone, and he got so humiliated that he just could not face anyone there anymore. He was expelled from the college and was forced to return home. So here he was. He was a very arrogant man. Just because he studied at a college in the province and had no one with the same background in this place, he believed that he was the best and the only worthy one around. Chapter 384. Evil Plan. The Zhao family was one of the richest families in the local area, and many people were always trying to suck up to them. But Shao Yunwan was not one of those. In his opinion, Zhao Guanghua's appearance surprised him, but did not please him. On the other hand, Shao Liulang was feeling quite proud. Brother Zhao is here to visit me, so I'm showing around. Shao Yunwan said inside his heart, "Thank you very much, damn." He did not intend to receive Zhao Guanghua at his home. He was not a well-mannered man, considering he had a fight with someone else for some woman at the brothel. Most importantly, he did not want him to see Xiao Xian and Tao Tao. Shao Yunwan greeted politely and said, "We have many people at home, sixth cousin. We can have a chat at your home." "I would like to have a chat at your place, Brother Shao." Zhao Guanghua still dreamt of meeting Yang Xiaoni again. If he could stay, he might see her again. He did not intend to do anything else right now, but he was always attracted to beautiful women. As he thought about how favorable he might look compared to the farmer she married, He believed that Yang Xiaoni was definitely going to love him deeply and regret having gotten married so early. In this way, he would feel really satisfied and proud. If he could at least speak with Yang Xiaoni, then he would be content and feel a little smug. Shao Liulang also intended to go home, but hearing what Zhao said, he replied, "We can definitely sit at your home to chat. Cousin, you would be very happy, right?" Shao Yunduan frowned. "We have no good tea to serve young Master Zhao. So, please, young Master Zhao, this way." Shao Yunduan held his cousin's arm and walked outside. When he and Shao Liulang both left, that man should not stay as well, right? "Hey," Shao Liulang, who had intended to protest, got startled seeing Shao Yunduan's cold look. He was dragged away wordlessly. As they walked out of the yard, Shao Yunduan glanced back at Zhao Guanghua and said, "Please, hurry up, young Master Zhao." He did not even wait for him to join him. Zhao Guanghua had no choice but to follow. He felt quite annoyed not to have been able to flirt with the beautiful girl he had drooled at. For now, he had no choice but to leave. He just did not have the reason to stay here when the owner was gone. Zhao Guanghua glanced at Shao Yunduan and asked ironically, "Yunduan, you're not trying to drive me away from your house, right?" "Of course not." Shao Yunduan raised his eyebrows and said peacefully, "My home is quite small, and we have no good tea. I just don't want young Master Zhao to suffer from the inconvenience, thus turning you away." "Is that so?" Zhao Guanghua could not believe that. "Of course, yes." Shao Liulang was cursing Shao Yunduan inwardly, but had to defend him. "Brother Zhao, honored guests like you always light up someone's home, and my cousin wishes that you could be here, but he's quite stubborn, so just drop the idea." Zhao Guanghua thought for a while. He did not think that there would be anyone who would refuse to hang out with him, given his background. He might have overthought about this. He smiled. "Okay, my bad. It is okay without tea. I'm not that particular. We could do that next time. Okay?" Chapter 385. Not to his home, Shao Liulang kept saying yes, but sneaked a look at Shao Yunduan. He felt quite sour inwardly. He had tried his best to get young Master Zhao to his home, but the esteemed guest became more interested in Shao Yunduan instead. That was really annoying. Shao Yunduan could not help but feel a bit worried. He could not understand Zhao Guanghua's purpose of trying to befriend him and wanting to visit his home. Then he thought of how his sister Zhao Ming was hanging out with Qiao Wei, and he suspected that he might be here digging around seeing what happened to Qiao Wei. The elder Miss Qiao was so annoying. The more Shao Yunduan thought about this, the more he believed that it was the truth. Shao Yunduan did not trust him that he was here to visit his cousin. So, he was not going to let him get close to his own home. He had accompanied Xiao Xian to the Qiao mansion, and he knew that Xiao Xian pretended to be very obedient and quiet, honest in front of the family. She didn't even get mad, even when she was laughed at. If Zhao Guanghua saw how bright and stunning she looked, he might leak that news. So, Shao Yunduan sped up. At the third section of the family, Ms. Ma had just killed a chicken and was getting ready to cook. Seeing Shao Yunduan coming over, she got very displeased, but she did not dare to say anything and just glanced at him. Shao Yunduan had not noticed this since he was thinking about Xiao Xian all the time. Shao Inlang tried his best to suck on to Zhao Guangna, who did not bother to respond that often, while Shao Yunduan was mostly silent. The three of them were killing time in this way. Shao Yunduan had intended to leave before lunch, but he was worried that Zhao Guanghua would move to his home with an excuse of saying goodbye, so he stayed. Ms. Ma could not stand it anymore and forced a false smile. "Yunduan, aren't you going back for lunch?" Shao Yunduan smiled. "Sorry that I have to trouble you today." "Ms. Ma." Shao Liulang did eat at the first section of the family's home the other day, and he still remembered the amazing food. Also, he just could not drive away Shao Yunduan at this point. So he stopped Ms. Ma directly. Ms. Ma had always adored this precious son of hers, so she said nothing more even though she was annoyed. She just left with a twisted face. Soon the dishes were served. Ms. Ma was quite terrible at cooking. The chicken was so roughly made, okay looking, but was the only properly prepared dish. The other two vegetable dishes did not have any oil. Shao Yunduan stopped after moving the chopsticks symbolically. He could not eat anything like this after trying the dishes made by Xiao Xian. Zhao Guanghua was the same too. He frowned after trying one bite and could not stand the taste anymore. He was young Master Zhao, and he did not care about this badly cooked chicken. Only Xiao Liulang kept eating happily. He even told Zhao Guanghua to feel at home, without noticing that Zhao Guanghua already dropped the chopsticks. Zhao Guanghua glanced at him, twisted his lip corners, and felt disdainful. No one would come to this person's home for a visit if he had not been bored. He did not deserve his visit. Zhao Guanghua was more interested in Shao Yunduan and waited for him to speak with him. Shao Yunduan was, however, silent all the time, and Zhao Guanghua could not help but initiate the conversation. Shao Yunduan nodded and replied briefly without saying anything more. Chapter 386. Jealous Zhao Guanghua felt even more bored. These two cousins were quite funny. One was overly passionate to flatter him. The other was completely silent. He never would have believed that Shao Yunduan was trying to ignore him. He was young Master Zhao. Feeling bored, Zhao Guanghua left the place after the meal. He was out for fun, and if he could not find it, there was no point in being here any longer. He could not find anything interesting here at all. Shao Liulang just could not keep him. Zhao Guanghua decided not to speak with Shao Liulang anymore, but he thought of Yang Xiaoni and intended to have some conversation with her in the future. Shao Yunduan let out a sigh of relief when that man was gone. He hoped that this man would never come back. Shao Liulang felt quite angry. Fifth cousin, you have behaved terribly. Brother Zhao doesn't come to us often, and I let you eat with him. Why did you show him a cold face? Shao Liulang believed that it was Shao Yunduan who gave Zhao Guanghua the cold shoulder, because of which he left so quickly. Shao Yunduan was not bothered to talk about this. He reminded him, I believe that you know why Zhao Guanghua came back home from the province's college. He is so frivolous and arrogant. Not a very good person to befriend. You better stay away from him. Shao Liulang was not bothered to hear these words of his. That is just a rumor. Why do you choose to believe it? I like Brother Zhao. He is friendly, warm, and not at all arrogant. You must be jealous of me, right? That is your problem. You aren't the only person who can hang out with rich young masters. I can too. Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan did not like to teach anyone. He was not Shao Liulang's father, and he already told him what he should hear. But now he was being accused of being jealous. Then what was the point of continuing? There was no need to say anything more. Whatever you like. Shao Yunduan left from there directly. Seeing his retreating figure, Shao Liulang just did not know what to do. How dare he? He must be jealous of me. Yes. As he thought about this, Shao Liulang could not help but feel happy that he finally befriended a rich person. The plan of building a new house at the first section of the family was finally going to be realized. They wanted to build a house soon so they could move in before the new year. Eldest uncle suggested adding 2 new rooms next to what they had now. But the family believed that they should demolish the present structure and build a new one. Feeling alone, elder uncle got very angry. We don't have the money. Xiao Xian smiled and said proudly, Dad, money is not the issue. That made the eldest uncle feel even worse. That is your money, not the family's money. Xiao Xian felt quite surprised. Her father-in-law was not greedy at all. She was offering to share her money with the family, and everyone else should be glad about it. In fact, other people might be worried that she would regret that. Xiao Xian felt a bit complicated at heart, not knowing what to say about him. Dad, it is the same thing. What matters is to live a happy and cozy life, right? Also, my husband will take care when he becomes a promising man. 1 a.m. just aeon trusania 0, 1 time roar you. Or, my news Dana can give Sini money back to me later. The others nodded in agreement. Anyways, everyone except for him knew that it was Ms. Fong who was putting in the money for the new house, not Xiao Xian. Chapter 387. Speechless, but they decided not to say anything about it. After all, They wanted to live a peaceful life, rather than get bothered by unnecessary trouble that ruined their mood. Eldest uncle was speechless. Whatever you like. Ms. Fong struck the table resolutely. Done. However, when the old house was demolished and a new plan was made, they needed to find a place to live temporarily. Well, they could have borrowed some empty place from the second and the third section of the family, but they would never let it happen. They did not want to be taken advantage of by their relatives. Apart from eldest uncle, no one from the first section of the family would be interested in sharing a place with the second and third section of the family. In the end, Ms. Fong went to speak with the land officer and the clan tribe, so the whole family decided to have a temporary place in the empty house next to the ancestral hall. They could carry all the stuff and luggage there. A temporary hut could be built as the kitchen. Hearing that the first section wanted to build a new house, the whole village was shocked. The first section of the family has really flourished. They are building a new house. Yeah, where do they get that money from? But they have more and more people moving in, and they need to have new places for those upcoming grandchildren. It is more than building 2 extra rooms. They are building a completely new one, and they even bought a lot of land around the house. How big will that house be? That is not your concern. They've got a very rich daughter-in-law. 26 sets of dowry must have had a lot of gold and silver, enough for the new house. They were talking, full of envy and yearning. The second and third section of the family never expected that the first section of the family would start to build a new house. They could not help but come to their door, trying to tell them that the old house was still practical to live in, and only 2 extra rooms were enough, and that there was no need to demolish all and build a new one. Obviously, Ms. Fong ignored their suggestion. When they learned that the first section of the family even bought 2 mu of land around the house in addition, they could not stand it anymore. Second uncle said, "Eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law, how big will your house be? Why did you buy the land around the house? Do you have this much money?" Ms. Nyo felt so sour. "If you can make money, please let us know about it too. We need a new house as well." Ms. Fong smiled and ignored them. They were in no position to tell her family what they should do. Eldest uncle could not reach his hand into Xiao Xian's money, and he could not make any decision regarding house building. So when his brothers came and asked him about it, he had no choice but to say that it was because the old house was too small for them to live in, and that they were doing this for their grandchildren's sake. When the second and third section of the family asked about how they made money, he stopped himself from saying anything further. He did not dare to tell them that Xiao Xian was paying half of the amount and the other half was earned through selling valuable things. He did not want his brothers to blame him. But the second uncle found his silence even more suspicious. They believed that he must be hiding something, so they were not very happy when leaving the house. However, the house to be built by the first section of the family not only included more than 2 mu of land, but also covered the yard of the neighbor's house, a small vegetable garden, and a small piece of open space around the neighbor's place, which came up to a total of more than 4 mu. Chapter 388. Shock that would make it 8 mu in total, including the new house to be built. Then, including the 12 mu of Xiao Xian's garden, there would be 20 mu in total. That was 20 mu of land in total. The first section of the family would become the most wealthy family in the whole village. Well, the reason why the first section of the family was able to build this big house was originally because of the second and third section of the family. When the second and third section of the family divided the old house of the Shao family, they added some small houses to it. In this way, the first section of the family did not have any place to live. Hence, eldest uncle found an empty place at the boundary of the village, very remote, and leaving a lot of empty space for what they could have now. The whole village was really shocked, and they all got so excited. Honestly, when the neighbors were moving, they looked so happy. So, the first section of the family must have given them a high price. Otherwise, who would be willing to sell the old house to outsiders and find an empty place outside the village to build new houses? However, the family was tight-lipped. They did not spill out a thing. They did utter a figure when forced, but no one believed that. Ms. Neo and Ms. Ma felt so annoyed and hurt. They believed that the first section of the family was bullying them. Everyone was talking about the first section of the family building a new house and wondered how much money it would cost for them to build. Some irritable people instigated them again and again, asking Ms. Neo and Ms. Ma, "Your houses are very small too. Why don't you think about building a new one too? Yeah, your eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law have been taking care of you all this time, and they should share some of what they have got, right? They are so rich, and they should help you." Both their faces turned red. Ms. Fong was not going to help them with money. Not at all. The most annoying person was Ms. Shao, who kept taking Ms. Fang's side, because of which Ms. Fong started to ignore them. But with little hope in their hearts, the second and third section of the family all rushed to the first section of the family. "Eldest brother, Liulang is getting married in the new year, and we don't have a new house for him. We need to build one room. What about sharing some of what you have left behind with us?" "Yeah, eldest brother, Liulang is your nephew, the child of the Shao family. Getting married is a huge thing, and you must help us." Ms. Neo said this and glanced at Ms. Fong, who seemed to hear nothing and kept working on the sole of her shoes. Ms. Fong ignored them. They could say whatever they wanted. She was not interested in anything they had to suggest. Liulang did not know what to say, so he left. Shao Samlang and Shao Yunduan, Xiao Xian, and Ms. Su were all there. They wanted to watch the show and also did not want Ms. Fong to be bullied. Third uncle also joined in and tried to convince the eldest uncle. Third uncle thought that if his eldest brother helped the second section of the family, he would help the third section of the family as well. Yang Xiaoni was shocked. No wonder Yang Liulang and Ms. Tian could not cause any trouble here. Her mother-in-law knew exactly how to deal with the situation. Sweat ran alongside eldest uncle's forehead as he staggered. "Ms. Fong, I don't think that building one more room would cost that much. What about if it doesn't cost that much, they can build it themselves?" Ms. Fong sneered. Chapter 389. Shockingly thick-cheeked. You are old enough to have so many grandchildren, and you still force your old brother to pay you for your new house? How shameless you are! Second uncle and third uncle felt their cheeks burning. The words spoken by Ms. Fong were true and heart-wrenching. The children of the first section of the family glanced at them, making them feel embarrassed. But that was nothing compared to their jealousy and resentment. So what? Their eldest brother had been taking care of them for so many years, and there was no point in leaving them behind when they were living a happy life. Eldest sister-in-law, you are wrong. Eldest brother is capable now, and he should take care of us brothers. We were born by the same parents, and we should all live a happy life together, right? The children were all speechless. Sure, but they needed to create a happy life themselves. They were seeking advantage of them, but still trying to make themselves sound as if they were being reasonable and righteous. Ms. Fong smiled. What about you taking your eldest brother to your home, so he can work for you and all the money he earns can be yours? All you need to do is to find him a place to live and feed him 3 meals a day. What does that sound? Second uncle and the others from the family were all stuck with words. Eldest uncle got so embarrassed as well. What are you talking about? I'm speaking the truth. Look, in this way, you can take care of your brothers so they can live a good life too. How does that sound? Second uncle and his people got furious. They did not want eldest uncle. They needed Xiao Xian's dowry. They stubbornly believed that the first section of the family was spending Xiao Xian's dowry rather than assume that the first section of the family was earning their own money. Before they could respond, Ms. Fong smiled at eldest uncle. Look, your brothers dislike you. They don't want you to be there. Eldest uncle, third uncle said, elder sister-in-law, stop joking around. We will be laughed at if that happens for real. You are afraid of being laughed at? How surprising. That was the end of the conversation. Shao Samlang suddenly said, what about us building a house together? We have so much land, right? When the house is built, we can all live together and get to know each other better. Ms. Ma's eyes sparkled as she nodded. Yeah, that sounds great. Eldest brother, we are all a family. Yeah, we have a lot of space, right? The children of the first section were all shocked. These people were so shameless. So, They wanted to wait until the house was done before moving in with them. The second and third section of the family got so glad that they all started to discuss when to move in. Eldest uncle was stuck with words, but Ms. Fong could not stand that anymore. She put down her sawls and pushed Ms. Nyo out. Just get out of this place. What are you dreaming about? You move in when we build a new house. You are so shameless. Then she cursed to Shao Liulang. You can stop going to school. Your head is full of shit. All you can do is to take advantage of people, but can come up with nothing new yourself. Just come back to be a farmer instead. You will have nothing to live on in the future. Ms. Ma got very annoyed as she screamed. My son is definitely going to become an officer soon. What are you talking about? Ms. Fong said coldly. Oh, then you can wait until he becomes one. Get out of here. Xiao Xian and Yang Xiaoni were keeping Ms. Fong company as they watched the opponents getting thrashed. They could not do anything about the elders directly, but if the elders gave Ms. Fong a push, they were definitely going to teach them a lesson. Chapter 390, Tore Off a Mess. Sue hesitated, but then backed her up as well. When Ms. Fong drove them out, Ms. Ma said angrily, You angry bitch, so unbelievable. Ms. Fong smiled. If I am so unbelievable, you can stop talking with us and not come to my home. Third uncle. Eldest brother. Why didn't you talk? Eldest uncle felt dizzy. His head was buzzing. He felt rather messed up. He was very sad about how such a family could become like this. He really wanted the whole family to live in harmony, but it never was in harmony. Ms. Fong argued with him fiercely, and the whole family disliked him. Now even his brothers disliked him. He had never been treated well. Shao Liulang was very angry by what Ms. Fong said as well. Or that was because he had been shamed by Ms. Fong. He could lie to himself or others, people like Ms. Ma and third uncle who trusted him blindly. He could even be stuck inside his fantasy. Yet he knew pretty well what he was like at the college. During the examination, he couldn't answer any of those topics, and he just wished that he could have some luck to pass the examination. He waited 1 year after another, hoping that he could answer some of the topics on paper next year. But Ms. Fong tore off the fantasy ruthlessly, and he felt seen through. You should not look down upon me. Fifth cousin is nothing more than a cultivated talent, and you never know what is going to happen in the future. Ms. Fong replied, All right then, you can make a fortune and be an officer if you want. Don't worry about what we're doing in our family. Shao Liulang. After driving them out, Ms. Fong said to her children, Have you spoken with the workers? When do we start? Xiao Yinduan responded quickly. We will tear down the house the day after tomorrow. Good. Ms. Fong smiled. Just hurry up and remove what we need to remove. We are not living here anymore. She glanced at this familiar-looking yard and house, sighing emotionally. I have lived here for so long, and I don't feel like leaving. Xiao Xin smiled. Mom, when we move into the new house, you will definitely love it. We're going to use the best materials, and the house should be intact even in a dozen years. Ms. Fong smiled. That is great. They spent the next 2 days moving stuff to the ancestral hall, and it was very messy at home. They needed to hurry up with moving, since the demolition started the day after tomorrow. They all went down to doing their own tasks. Ms. Fong glanced at eldest uncle. Don't blame me for pushing them. They are just so annoying. Must we feed them all? Liulang is so stupid as to suggest that idea. He has read nothing in all these years. Eldest uncle was speechless. He was generous towards his brothers, but he could not counter his wife about what he had just heard. But Liulang is getting married, so what? Ms. Fong sneered. He has his own parents. We never turned to them for help when our sons got married. Eldest uncle, soon, the process of tearing down the house and building the foundation of the new house of the first section of the family started. They did not lack any money, so they started to hire people and buy material quickly. All was going forward smoothly. That was a huge land, and the whole family had already made an elaborate plan. There was a front yard, main house, and backyard. The main house was a big place with 5 bays and 2 entrances. It was 2 stories high. The upper floor was going to be used to stack things and store grain and other harvested crops. Chapter 391. Work started. The east and west wing rooms were all built to be spacious, with a three-bay pattern. Behind the two wing rooms, there were two small courtyards. Shao Yunduan and Shao Xian would live there. Shao Yunduan needed to study, so he chose a quieter place. Shao Dalong, Shao Sanlang, and Shao Xiaoqi had rooms of their own, while Shao Taotao and Ms. Fong shared the main room. According to the blueprint given by the first section of the family, the construction team was in full swing on the day of construction, and more than half of the villagers came to watch the excitement. But no one from the second or the third section of the family showed up. Obviously, they were still very annoyed. Ms. Fong did not care. She pretended as if her mood was not at all affected. They did not even care what the eldest uncle was thinking at the moment. Xiao Xian and her team went into the mountains again, when everyone was so busy. Xiao Xian was thinking about the golden sprouts and lavender tea leaves. She had many tea seeds at home last time, but they were not enough. Many seeds were not mature enough, and they needed to revisit that place. They went into the mountains for 5 days in a row. On the first day, they picked tea seeds, and then they started to seek and pick the creeping figs as well as mushrooms. The courtyard they were going to live in henceforth was large enough to sun-dry those things. When seeds were taken from the creeping figs, they were sun-dried in the sun and were put in the large bamboo pan. In the meanwhile, they dug more than 20 to 25 kilograms of lilies and dates. There were still many persimmons and wild chestnuts in the mountains, but they had not yet reached the ripe season, and they had to wait for a while before they turned delicious. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan worked for a few days and soon after visited the Zhang village again. The project of opening the land at the Zhang village was almost done. The couple was very satisfied by the effect. This was for planting tea trees, not crops. As long as the large and small tree stumps were dug up, it would not matter if the weeds were not cleared. They needed to make a lot of effort in removing the weeds in the first 2 days. Then it will slowly fall in place. By the time the house was built, the opening of the land project would almost come to an end. At that time, they could start to build the side yards. Building a house was quick. It was much faster and more convenient to lay the foundation and start laying bricks than earth ramming. Building a house would take about 4 days. Ms. Fong saw with her own eyes that a tall, magnificent, and spacious main house was built. She felt extremely happy. The main room was larger, and when that was done, the other rooms would be constructed even faster. After all the rooms were done, they could build the entire large yard. Then the small yards would be divided along with the utility rooms. They would build sheds for raising chickens and ducks, lay floor tiles, repair drinking pools. In this way, they would be able to finish the work within 1 month or so. Then they would install doors and windows and have the requisite furniture made. They were definitely going to move in before the new year. The other sections of the family were so jealous and furious. After they were driven out the other day, they were secretly paying attention to how fast the new house was built. Ms. Niu felt very sour inside her heart, seeing the house getting ready little by little. She turned to look at second uncle. We could build a new house too. Liulang needs some space to get married. We need to look good for him. Second uncle felt quite annoyed too, as he said, yes, we will build one on our empty space. Not with their help. We're going to get a new house too. True. Only then did Ms. Niu feel slightly better. She was getting a new house too. Chapter 392. Suspicion that the second section of the family also started to hire people to build the house. Originally, they were thinking of borrowing some materials such as bricks, stones, and gravel from the first section of the family, but Shao Yunduan and Shao Xian had long been on guard against them. The purchase of these things was contracted to the foreman who built the house, and the foreman was responsible for the purchase. All Shao Yunduan and Shao Xian did was to examine the quality and sign, confirming the source of the material on each paper. The foreman would gain some profit from it too. Most people in this era were quite practical. They took money and worked hard. Also, they barely had a chance to fabricate anything. For example, the number of black bricks bought could not be fabricated. They used solid woods, not composite lumber. With the foreman who was in charge, the first section of the family saved themselves a lot of trouble. What they needed was to get everything examined well, but not get worried about anything else. But Ms. Neo and second uncle did not know about this. They tried to carry the black bricks away and said resolutely, "This is my eldest brother's home, and I can borrow a few as his brother. I can repay them later. You are an outsider, and this matter has nothing to do with you. You are just a laborer. What are you stopping me for?" But the foreman lectured them and explained the details with a cold face, driving them away. He had bought everything with his money, and if Ms. Neo carried them away, he would need to make the compensation himself. They had not expected that the first section of the family had done the preparation in this way, thus getting even more annoyed. The first section of the family has spent so much money in hiring people. How much is it? They haven't lent us anything, but they can waste the money on this. Ms. Zhang was most furious. The second section of the family did not offer to build a new house for her when she got married. But now Liulang was getting married, and he would get a new house. She was not worse than anyone else as a daughter-in-law. Why was she so badly treated? She did not dare to complain about IAT in front of Ms. Neo, but cried badly in front of Shao Erlang behind their backs. Shao Erlang had not felt that anything was wrong with it, because he felt happy that his family was getting a new house. But hearing her tearful complaints, he could not help but feel annoyed and displeased. He could not help but mention this to second uncle that he needed one more room too, because his children were growing up and they would have no place to live in later on. Second uncle and Ms. Neo, who were still annoyed by not being able to get anything from the first section of the family, lectured Shao Erlang on hearing what he said. One room was already so difficult for them. How could they afford two? They would talk about building new ones in the future. Ms. Neo was sure that it was Ms. Zhang who would have mentioned it. So she lectured her and gave her a hard time for a few days in a row. Ms. Zhang felt so upset that she cribbed about Ms. Neo and second uncle as well as the first section of the family. But for the stingy first section of the family, nothing like this would have happened. On the other hand, the first section of the family had no idea what was going on with the second section of the family. Despite shifting to a new room, Xiao Yinwan was still reading, memorizing books most of the time, whilst Xiao Xian took a break and went into the mountains again. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni kept her company on some occasions. Xiao Xian and her team did not go into the deep section of mountains every time. There were many mushrooms in the forest as well. They could see the creeping figs every now and then, and she was able to find them easily. There were many wild fruits in the mountains too, ripe with a sweet and sour taste. There were a lot of fun things in the mountains. Chapter 393. Updated Space. Xiao Xian was thinking that Yuezheng Shao might send his men to fetch the last batch of lip balms, and he sure did. It was Chu Shan who came over. Chu Shan greeted her and gave her a present, as well as a letter written by Yuezheng Shao. What surprised Xiao Xian was that the present Yuezheng Shao sent for her was a pot with 5 ginseng. Yuezheng Shao had just written to his elder brother, who was called Yuezheng Hong, who believed that the whole thing was very troublesome. But his younger brother rarely asked him for anything, so he could not help but feel like helping him, so he did that in the end. Ginsengs without being processed would get rotten after a long while. So, Yuezheng Hong made a lot of efforts after getting 5 of them, put them in 2 pots, and finally transplanted them into 1 pot. When the pot arrived, the ginseng was dying. Yuezheng Shao was worried that it would be gone within a few days, so he asked Chu Shan to have it delivered to Xiao Xian as soon as possible. Xiao Xian thanked him sincerely and carried the pot into the garden with Xiao Tao Dao. They could not just disappear in her space. They needed to be planted in the yard. After a while, she could tell others in a seemingly casual way that the 5 pieces of ginseng were dead or gone. Then her work would be done. It was her stuff, and Miss Fong would not say anything about it, let alone others. She was the only one who had the key to the garden, and she could easily conceal her secret if she wanted to. She drove away Tao Dao and put the 5 ginseng into her space. The ginseng, which were on the verge of dying, started turning better when moved to space. Xiao Xian felt that with her heart. When the 5 ginseng were planted in the soil, the space became even more lively and vital. It was autumn, and everything naturally withered. Many plants had stopped growing, and some had become bare. Xiaoxian's superpower was affected by the seasons, and it was not as active as in spring and summer. But the space had not been so lively for a long while. She felt much more energetic when the ginseng were in the soil. Xiaoxian came out when she felt better, after feeling what was inside her head. She believed that if she planted some more precious plants in her space, the space would turn tremendously different. That was to say, the accumulation of quantitative changes to a certain extent would lead to qualitative changes. That made Xiaoxian very excited. She also kept telling herself not to get overly worried about it. The environment she lived in was still too remote and closed, and precious and rare plants were not easy to come by. Sometimes it was all about chances. Yuezheng Shao was quite reliable, and he could be entrusted to find something good. Also, they were building a new house, and she was going to need some more plants. She was definitely going to ask Yuezheng Shao to find those new, precious plants for her. She only needed the rare varieties, such as orchids like ghost orchids, crane tops, and lotus petals, peonies such as Yuezheng, plum blossoms such as green plums, dead branch plums, camellias such as 18 bachelors, Hiniango, Chidan, etc. She wanted to get them with the thought that if the space accepted other flowers and trees, as long as they were rare enough, the space would accept them all. She was thinking about how to get these rare plants. Chapter 394. In a province, these precious flowers and trees could only be obtained by famous and wealthy families. There were very few transactions of these kinds in the flower and tree market. After all, ordinary people could not afford these things. Only rich and powerful families could spend a lot of money to buy them and carefully cultivate them. Money was not the initial condition. It was just a method to get through. The atmosphere seemed a bit strange as she went home. Xiaoxian turned to look at Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan smiled. I was just about to fetch you. Brother Yuezheng has invited us to have a gathering of literature in the province after 3 days. Do you want to join us? Xiaoxian's eyes sparkled. Of course. She could hopefully find precious flowers, shrubs, and trees there. She would be too stupid to refuse the invitation. Of course. Xiaoxian nodded as she smiled. Young Master Yuezheng mentioned that the gathering should be of great importance. You should not miss it. Shao Yunwan nodded. That is exactly what I think. Ms. Fong and the others in the family nodded in agreement. Xiaoxian was going to keep him company. Chu Shan smiled. Then, please get your luggage ready tonight, so we can leave tomorrow morning. Shao Yunwan nodded happily. This way, Chu Shan and the coachman spent their first night at the first section of the family. They slept on the floor of Shao Zioki's room. Ms. Fong asked Shao Xiaoqi and Tao Tao to follow them to the province since there was nothing much going on in the family. Shao Yunduan was hesitant about this. Living as a large family next to the ancestral hall was not as convenient as living at home. There was still farm work to do every day, and the house was being built. Somebody had to go see it a few times. If half of the family was gone, they were running out of helping hands in the family. What if the other sections of the family caused trouble at the time? He was worried that his mother would run into a problem when he and Xiaoxian were absent. Ms. Fong seemed to have seen through his concern, and she smiled. Don't worry, just do what you need to do. I am not bullied easily, and I have Sam Lang and Ms. Yang with me here. Dalong was too honest to fight back, especially when Ms. Fong and eldest uncle were in an argument. But if Ms. Fong was bullied, he would definitely step forward. Ms. Su was not a good helper, but if she forced her to help her as a mother-in-law, she would not refuse to do so. Shao Samlang and Yang Xiaoni were with her, and they always took her side. So, even if Shao Yunduan and the others were away for a while, it would be fine. Shao Yunduan agreed and nodded at the proposal. Early the next day, Xiao Xian, Shao Yunduan, Qi, and Tao Dao left with Chu Shan and the coachman. After breakfast, Ms. Su, Yang Xiaoni were doing housework, whilst Miss Fong was taking care of her grandchildren as Shao Dalong and his brother went to check around the new house before heading to the mountains for wood chopping. It was getting cold soon, and they needed to store as much wood as possible, enough for the winter and the spring. Wood was not easily obtained when it rained too much in spring. Miss Fong looked and saw Shao Liulang in front of him. "Oh, what are you doing here?" Miss Fong sounded calm, but she looked very cold. This man had the audacity to suggest moving the whole family together after their new house was built. Miss Fong looked down at him to an extreme degree. Chapter 395. Regretful, Shao Liulang did not sense her displeasure, though. He had always thought highly of himself, and he said with a smile, "Eldest aunt." He asked in a pretentiously casual way, "You had guests last night, right? They seem to be young Master Yu's servants, right? Have they left already?" Many people had seen Chu Shan come into the village the day before, and Shao Liulang saw that too. But he lost interest in the visit, since Chu Shan was here alone. So he did not come to them the day before. But he got quite curious as he came to them in the morning. Unfortunately, the wagon was gone, so was the man. Miss Fong let out a cry of surprise. Shao Liulang smiled. "I need to talk with my cousin." Miss Fong stopped him. "Your cousin has left with Chu Shan." "What?" Shao Liulang's face changed. "So, Chu Shan was here to take him away as a guest to their place?" Miss Fong looked at him with confusion, wondering what made him so excited at the moment. She nodded. "Yeah?" Shao Liulang suddenly felt regretful. "But I had a nice chat with young Master Yu last time as well. Why did my cousin ask me to join them? He should have come to them the night before and asked about the visit. He had just missed the great opportunity." Miss Fong was speechless. Young Master Yuezheng and young Master Xie were getting on well with her son, not with Liulang. She said, "But Chu Shan didn't say that young Master Yu invited you." Shao Liulang got stuck with words and turned pale. "But we are cousins and we are together, right?" Miss Fong found it hard to counter him about this, so she let out a small "okay" and said nothing more. Shao Liulang had no idea what else to say. What could he do since the wagon was long gone? He could try to chase the wagon, but he would not be able to catch up at all. He wanted to lecture eldest aunt, but he did not dare to. Shao Liulang thought of an idea and said, "Where does young Master Yu live?" Miss Fong understood clearly what he wanted to do and replied with a smile. "One have no idea." Shao Liulang felt that Miss Fong was lying, but he could not prove that. "You really have no idea?" "No." Shao Liulang got so annoyed as he said, "Can you swear on that?" Miss Fong threw a look at him. "What is wrong with you? I would be mental to swear on this. Just leave me alone. Honestly, you can't do any labor work and just read and write. So, you should just stay in the room and read on your own. What will you do if you don't pass any examinations?" That was so heartbreaking for him to hear. Shao Liulang. He felt even more annoyed. Shao Liulang felt regretful as he came back home in distress. Ms. Ma asked him about it in concern. Shao Liulang did not want to mention it, but he could not help and complained to Ms. Ma. Ms. Ma did not feel any sympathy, but snapped angrily. "They're just showing off. They have rich friends, but so do you. Just ignore them. If you feel bored, go and visit young Master Zhao again." Shao Liulang was startled. In fact, he understood clearly that his relationship with Zhao Guanghua was totally different from Shao Yunduan's relationship with those two young masters. But he did not want to admit that. Chapter 396. Favored by beauty, that was why he tried hard to suck up to the two young masters. He somehow believed that if the two young masters befriended him, he would have a lot of wonderful things coming to him in the future. Zhao Guanghua was different from them, but he could not just say that out loud. His mother would not understand. Bothered and flustered, Shao Liulang could not stay at home and went to the Zhao family for real. Zhao Guanghua was feeling very bored at home. When he heard that Shao Liulang had come over, he laughed and ordered him to come in. Now, he had someone whom he could tease for fun. However, Shao Liulang ran into Zhao Ming when he was at Zhao Guanghua's place. Shao Liulang was shocked by her looks. Zhao Ming saw him as well. She felt flattered to have fascinated a dumb man like him. She smiled at him purposefully and left. Zhao Ming's smile made Shao Luling's head buzz. He was totally distracted, and, after a few moments, he became really happy. The elder miss of the Zhao family smiled at him. Did she fall for him? That must be it. Shao Liulang couldn't stand the excitement arising inside his head. He almost burst out in laughter. Since Zhao Guanghua did not witness what happened, he wondered what was wrong with this man. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan, as well as their family, arrived in the province before the day turned dark. It was an early winter day, and they eventually managed to go through the gate before it closed. Chushan drove them to the hotel where they had lived last time. Yuezheng Shao had already booked the room for them. They thanked Chushan and checked in. It was a quiet night. Early the next morning, Yuezheng Shao and Xie came to visit them together. They had a chat in a very bustling, lively atmosphere. Yuezheng Shao and Xie thanked them for the presents which they brought along. Those included some sun-dried mushrooms and creeping figs. They did not have any bergamots anymore since Yuezheng Shao already took everything away last time he was at their place. All kinds of dried mushrooms were fine, and jelly was still a new product. As expected, Yuezheng Shao liked it very much. Last time when he brought some fresh ones back, Yuezheng Shao specially gave them to his mother and sister-in-law. Xie also ordered someone to make jelly, added various chopped nuts or fresh fruits, and a little crushed ice. The ladies in the family loved it, asking him when he would be able to bring some more back. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan had a few with them this time. The gathering took place after 2 days, and it would last for 3 days in a row. Xie told Shao Yunduan about some important figures as well as the whole process and the regulations. Yuezheng Shao was not interested in what was happening between scholars, so he started to talk about lipsticks and dessert stores with Xiao Xian instead. They had no flowers for lipsticks right now, so Yuezheng Shao decided to release the lipsticks which they had in stock regularly, so they could stretch it out until the new ones arrived. Xiao Xian gave him 500 lip balms to fill the shortage of lipsticks. Yuezheng Shao planned to customize some crystal, jade, gold, and silver lipstick tubes inlaid with gemstones. Rare things were more expensive, and he would try to sell them at high prices. He wondered if Xiao Xian would agree to that. Xiao Xian was shocked. The Yuezheng family was indeed a wealthy business family with not only a huge background, but also ideas and abilities. Some very wealthy ladies would expect their things to stand out from the ordinary ones. Chapter 397. Limited version, the crystal and jade lipstick tubes would not cost a lot more than the current cost, but the price could definitely increase by more than 100 times. Also, they did not need to have many tubes like this. More than a dozen sets would be enough. That sounds great. In this way, we can make more money and satisfy what the noble ladies and madams like. That is like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Xiao Xian nodded in agreement. Yuezheng Shao struck his thigh and smiled. That is true. Exactly what I think. Xiao Xian thought for a while and said, how about this? Next year, there will be a set of 12 beauties limited edition lipsticks. The 12 beauties each correspond to a kind of flower for 12 months. The lipstick tubes will represent spring, summer, autumn, and winter, which will be made of emerald, carnelian, gold, and crystal respectively. The tube will be carved with patterns of beauties and flowers, inlaid with various pearls and gemstones. 3 pieces will be released in 1 season, and the whole set can be collected in 1 year. 3 packs can be sold at one go, and more effort should be made on the packaging. We could draw patterns and ask famous artists to sell them. You must make sure that it is exquisitely made. As for the price, I'm not an expert on it, so it's fine for you to decide. Yuezheng Shao's eyes sparkled when he heard the idea. He patted the table in delight. That is a great thought. We are definitely going to do this. Let's release a set of 12 beauties, limited edition first, then he'll find someone to figure out a more elaborate idea later. After that, we can launch some other series. Think about it slowly. This way we're going to earn a lot of money. At that time, after deducting the cost, we will share the profit equally. Yuezheng Shao already had an idea about the pricing. He decided to sell the lipsticks with cost included at more than 3,000 liang for one lipstick. Since it was a limited version, he would at most produce 10 sets, so they could look rare. He was sure that they would be very well received. They did not need to worry about not being able to sell them. 10 sets for the 12 Beauty series with 12 lipsticks for one set would earn them so much. The two money lovers started to discuss the plan in detail. They did not stop until it was time for lunch. Yuezheng had already booked the restaurant, and they all headed there. Inside the elegant room, Shao Yunduan was shocked hearing what Yuezheng Shao said about the limited version of lipsticks. Yuezheng spoke highly of the idea when he heard about it. 12 beauties and 12 famous flowers would be drawn by famous artists, and the outer tubes would be made by famous craftsmen. The gold, jade, and crystals corresponded to the 4 seasons. They were luxurious and elegant enough, and will work perfectly as limited versions. Rare things were always more expensive, and they would definitely be sold. A few thousand liang was nothing in rich people's eyes. After all, real rich people had so much money to spend that it simply could not finish. Hearing that it was Qiao Xian's idea, Yuezheng could not help but look at this girl with admiration. The county magistrate was totally blind to alienate and dislike this daughter of his. If he had treated her well and taken her as an advisor, he would have been promoted and made a fortune and fame long ago instead of trying to stick up to powerful and rich people in this humiliating way. Shao Yunduan was a learned man, but he just could not believe that someone would spend this much money upon buying one lipstick like that. It sounded ridiculous, but Shao Yunduan could not help but feel emotional when he saw how confident Yuezheng and Yuezheng Shao were when they talked about selling these lipsticks. He simply could not understand what was up with rich people. Chapter 398. Dessert store. Eating mutton in winter was the most warming and nourishing feeling. Today's several big dishes were all mutton, including roasted leg of lamb, braised lamb chops, braised mutton with radish, steamed mutton with powder, and mutton in a dry pot. They were all served straight out of the pot. The chefs at the restaurants were pretty good at cooking. Yuezheng Shao could not help but talk about the dessert stores during lunchtime. Qiao Xian told him that they already bought the land for opening and they could plant the creeping figs in spring and harvest them in autumn. There were many creeping figs this year, and the sun-dried ones should weigh over 50 kilograms. But those were not enough to open a dessert store. They needed to have at least 3 or 5 stores in the province so that they could acquire the market as soon as possible and earn money. One store would earn too little profit. They could not just sell jelly and needed to offer something more as well. This ice powder jelly could not be copied by others. Other things such as sugar taro seedlings, mung bean paste, lily lotus seed, and almond soup, bean curd, and bean brain were easy to learn as long as others saw them. So, they needed to take over the market right at the beginning, so all the tastes could be showcased well and could stand firmly and for a long duration. They did not need to open the store as of this moment, but they could start the preparations until all was set and ready to go. Qiao Xian also mentioned raising cows, and she wondered if the cows could be bred because milk could lead to making many other interesting dishes as well. Taking advantage of the trend, she also mentioned sago, cassava, and papaya available in the south. If they could find those, the whole thing would get much better. Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng were both shocked. This was far more than jelly. They were even thinking about raising cows. What was sago rice? Cassava? They never heard about these things. They had heard of papaya, but never saw it before. Yuezheng Shao gave Qiao Xian an admiring look as he sighed. You have such vast knowledge. Everything sounds so good. Draw me some pictures so I can try this with my elder brother. As long as we have them on this land, we will definitely find them. His elder brother had befriended many wandering people as a businessman. Although they were not very close friends, they could offer some help to find the stuff they needed. Qiao Xian smiled. Yes, I also read some sayings in a book about foreign countries. The sago and cassava should come from the west, and most of them have to go to the south to find them. Yuezheng Shao nodded. I will speak with my brother. He smiled as he looked at Yuezheng. We do have cows. Their family happened to have a small ranch, and they raised some cows there. Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan turned to Xie Jingrong smiled. My grandfather and grandmother like milk, so the family specially raised a few cows, which were easy to handle. Soon, I will take over this pasture and expand it to raise a few more cows. 20 or 30 should be enough. Xiao Xian didn't know if that was enough, but how many cows could be raised on a ranch needed to be calculated by experience or in a scientific way, not as per their wish. Xiao Xian smiled and nodded. 20 and 30 should be enough. Let's see how the store business goes. Yuezheng Shao smiled happily. The business should be good. They talked for a few minutes before leaving. It was quite late in the day. Chapter 399. Yuezheng Ting again. It was slightly cold in the province, and both Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan did not have many clothes with them. So, they went to buy a few more warm clothes on the way, which she and Tao Dao could bring back to the hotel, whilst they went to a few bookstores and returned a little later. They had a quick dinner at the hotel and stayed there until the next day. Shao Yunduan was getting ready to attend the gathering these days, and was reading a few poetry collections as part of the preparations. He was definitely going to be asked to make some poems at the gathering, though that was not the theme of the gathering this year. Xiao Xian, Qi, and Tao Dao chose to go out and have a tour around. Xiao Xian was still thinking about precious plants, but she had not told Yuezheng Shao about this idea yet. She decided to try her own luck first. She also wanted to buy a few things for home as well. Shao Yunduan could not keep her company, so he stressed to Shao Xiaoqi that he should take good care of his sister-in-law and sister. After the gathering, I will go out with you to far-off places. When you are by yourself, you should only visit bustling localities, not those isolated areas, all right? We don't speak the same dialect as people here, and we are outsiders who might be bullied, especially those outsiders who did not have any servants with them. Shao Xiaoqi and Tao Dao turned serious and nodded in agreement. Xiao Xian's heart also skipped a beat. They were not living in the modern society with high legal security, and they should definitely be careful out there. The three of them rented the wagon recommended by the manager of the hotel and instructed the coachman to take them to many popular places. They even paid extra for the security. They visited some street stands and bought a few things. The three of them happened to be around Yinshi restaurant around lunchtime, which is a very famous restaurant for its southern dishes, especially Suzhou cuisine. They had wanted to have a taste at this place last time, but they failed to eat there due to the tight schedule. They happened to be around here at lunchtime, probably because it was destiny that took them here. Xiao Xian and Tao Dao got off the wagon and smiled at Qi. You can go and fetch your brother, while we will go in and place the order. Shao Xiaoqi agreed and urged the coachman to hurry away. Yinshi restaurant was one of the biggest restaurants in the province, so Xiao Xian and Tao Dao should be safe here. Yinshi restaurant was very popular, and when Xiao Xian and Xiao Tao Dao went to the elegant room, there was only one room left. She booked without hesitation, as she said to Tao Dao, "We are lucky enough to have found one at this hour." Xiao Tao Dao chuckled and nodded. Yeah. At this moment, a group of people walked in. It included 4 beautiful and young ladies accompanied by a few maids. They needed an elegant room. The manager was quite embarrassed as he said with a smile, "Sorry, the last elegant room has been booked by a lady a while ago. Maybe you can come back later and we will save one for you." The lady who asked for the elegant room turned to Xiao Xian with a smile. "Lady, you only have 2 people, but we have so many. Can you spare the elegant room for us? I can compensate you with 1 Liulang." Xiao Xian. This lady looked very arrogant. She seemed quite friendly, but as a matter of fact, she was rude to her face. Most importantly, this lady did not recognize her, but Xiao Xian did. Even Tao Dao exchanged a surprised look with Xiao Xian. She had recognized her too. It was Yuezheng Ting, Yuezheng Shao's cousin. Xiao Xian did not care if she recognized herself. They were just irrelevant people in her eyes, and it was not so strange that she did not recognize her. Chapter 400. Rejection. Xiao Xian did not mention that they had met, nor did she say that she knew her cousin Yuezheng Shao well. "I am sorry, miss, but we are a group of more than 2 people. Also, we arrived here first to book the room. We live outside the province and can barely visit here. So, we really want to eat at Yinchi restaurant. But miss, you seem to be a local. What about coming here next time?" Yuezheng Ting was not a mild-tempered person, but she was in public and had her friends with her. Thus, she had to act as if she were very generous and elegant. She thought that she had been kind enough to offer compensation, but this lady turned her down bluntly. Yuezheng Ting could not embarrass herself in front of others, and said with a good smile, "Lady, we also want to eat the good dishes here today. How about I offer you 3 liang? You can eat a sumptuous meal at some other place with these 3 liang, no?" Yuezheng Ting felt so distressed. 3 liang was already a huge amount, enough for her to try different sun-dried fruits. Xiaoxian really looked down at her. If she wanted to drive her away with money, at least 10 to 20 liang should have been the starting price. Yinchi restaurant's elegant rooms were very expensive to book. In that light, 1 or 3 liang were so stingy as a compensation. If she was so miserly, then she did not have to put on a show. It was so embarrassing. Had Yuezheng Ting and Yuezheng Shao been in a good relationship, Xiaoxian would have definitely helped. But Yuezheng Shao and Yuezheng Ting were not in a harmonious relationship, and Xiaoxian would not just let this opportunity go. "Sorry, Mississippi. Can you please try this offer with some other guests?" Yuezheng Ting got so furious, which is why her maid Jiang went forward and said, "Hey, don't be so greedy. Our miss already offers you a generous offer. What more do you want?" Xiaoxian glanced at her and smiled with politeness. "I just want to have a quiet lunch." "You," a girl in a rosy and patterned coat, chuckled as she squinted at Yuezheng Ting. "Ting, you're really not generous enough. 1 or 3 liang is too little to offer. You are so rich that you can offer more." The Yuezheng family were rich enough to offer more, but she must be doing it on purpose because she did not want to treat them with a true heart. Yuezheng Ting glared at the maid and then at Xiaoxian. She spoke in a very annoyed voice with her teeth clenched. "I will give you 10 liang, and you can choose another dining place." Xiaoxian said to the manager, "Mr. Manager, I am going upstairs. When my husband and my brother-in-law arrive, please direct them to our elegant room." Having said that, Xiaoxian left with Shao Tao Tao. Yuezheng Ting's face flushed. She was both embarrassed and angry. Another lady wearing a lavender dress frowned as she said lightly, "I just thought of something. I'm off. Let's set another day for lunch." Before Yuezheng Ting could say anything, the girl left and the other girls followed up soon after. Yuezheng Ting turned pale and felt humiliated. The girl in lavender dress was Xie Ruifeng, the lineal daughter of the 3rd section of the family of the Xie family. Yuezheng Ting ran into Xie Ruifeng and her cousin He Jiqing and was trying to suck up to them. They were just talking about the dishes of Yinchi restaurant. So she vividly offered to take them to this restaurant for the exaggeratedly praised dishes. Chapter 401. Angry the CF family was a wealthy family with very strict rules for their children. They did not lack drinks or clothes, but they barely had any pocket money. There were special funds for buying clothes, jewelry, rouge, and gouache, and the elders would give rewards during the New Year's Day or occasionally at other times. But if they wanted to go out and eat, they might not have too much money in hand, especially when it comes to a place like Yinchi restaurant. Southern dishes were always exquisitely made, and an ordinary banquet would cost 20 liang at least. Upper-class table would cost more than 100 liang. If liquor and other drinks were added, the price could be much higher. Xie Ruifeng and He Jiqing had not been here before, so they were quite attracted to take up the offer. Yuezheng Ting became happy about that. Although it might cost her some money, if she could befriend the lineal daughter of the CF family, it would be worth the while. Therefore, even if she ran into one Xingyuan from the one family, the girl in the rose dress, whom she did not like much, Yuezheng Ting did not turn her down. All Xie Ruifeng needed to remember was who paid for the meal. However, there were no available elegant rooms left at Yinchi restaurant, which was beyond her expectation. What irritated her was that the last elegant room was taken from her just one step ahead of time. And this woman who took the room did not want to accept compensation for giving up the room. How dare she? She had been filled with hope before she came here, but now everyone was disappointed. She could imagine what Xie Ruifang would think of her. She would have a terrible impression about her. Wen Qingyuan, that bitch, also left with Xie Ruifang, and she was surely going to badmouth her behind her back. He Jiqing chuckled and said to Yuezheng Ting in a gentle voice, "I seem to have seen 2 women eating with your third cousin the other day. There were 2 other men with them that day, probably her husband and brother-in-law. It seems that they should be in a good relationship with your family. How could they fail to recognize you as the second miss of the Yuezheng family?" He Jiqing smiled and said gently, "Or maybe I saw it wrong. If you check with her about it, don't tell her that it came from me." She smiled and then turned around, leaving. Yuezheng Ting's face changed while she stood there with eyes wide open. She suddenly thought of something as she said to Jiang with clenched teeth, "You remember the third cousin and young master Xie eating at the restaurant? There was a family with 4 people, right? Is it them?" Jiang was startled and then showed an enlightened look. "You were right, miss, it was them. I remember it now." "Good." Yuezheng Ting got even more furious and sneered. "They must have recognized me and were playing with me. I'm going to teach them a lesson." Yuezheng Ting rushed upstairs in fury. Xiao Xian and Shao Taodao had just sat down when Yuezheng Ting rushed in as she pushed the door open. She pointed at Xiao Xian furiously. "My third cousin treats you as friends, but you dare trick me like this. I will tell him, so he can teach you a lesson." Yuezheng Ting stopped pretending to be an elegant lady when no one was watching. But she had not thought of Xiao Xian and Tao Tao's names, so the impact of her accusation was largely reduced. Chapter 402. Payment. Xiao Xian raised her eyebrows. "Sorry, Lady Yuezheng, but I booked the elegant room first, and I don't want to give it away to you. What is the problem?" She gave Yanxi Restaurant a thumb up for not sucking up to the rich. No wonder the restaurant was so popular. Yuezheng Ting sneered. Good, good. Then tell me your name, so I will tell my third cousin about it. From today onwards, you will never have the chance to speak with him or get anything beneficial from our family." The Yuezheng family were very famous in the province, and Yuezheng Ting assumed that Xiao Xian was trying to suck up to the Yuezheng family. A small portion of money from them would feed this poor family well for the rest of their lives. Startled, Tao Tao was so confused, not knowing how to react. What was wrong with this lady from the Yuezheng family? How could she be so strange? Young Master Yuezheng was in a business relationship with her brother and sister-in-law, and young Master Yuezheng kept telling them that he was so lucky to meet them. Since when did her brother and sister-in-law try to suck up to the Yuezheng family? Where did Lady Yuezheng hear about this rumor? Tao Tao did not like to be misjudged. She could not help but speak up. "Sorry, Lady Yuezheng, but you have misunderstood us. We have never taken anything good from your family, and my brother and sister-in-law's relationship with young Master Yuezheng is totally fair and straight." "How dare you say fair and straight?" Yuezheng Ting sneered. "You want to tell me your names?" Xiao Xin pinched Tao Tao's wrist and looked at Yuezheng Ting. "I don't think that is necessary. How about asking your third cousin yourself, if you want to know our names?" Yuezheng Ting got so annoyed that she said, Okay, you are very bold. Let's wait and see what you have to pay for your rudeness." Yuezheng Ting glared at Xiao Xian and left in a fury. Tao Tao got a little anxious, asking, "Fifth sister-in-law, is this okay? Lady Yuezheng is young Master Yuezheng's cousin. After all." Xiao Xian was amused. "Don't worry, think about our own cousins. If they irritate our friends and get driven away by our friends, will you be mad at our friends?" "Of course not." Xiao Taodao burst out and felt a little embarrassed. Xiao Xian smiled. "Not so worried anymore." Xiao Taodao nodded and said involuntarily, "Why are cousins always so annoying?" Xiao Xian laughed. "That's a good question." Soon the waiters came in, and the two of them started to order. Xiao Xian ordered classic southern dishes such as squirrel mandarin fish, stewed meatballs, braised eels, crystal meat, braised pork and baiwa wine, pink xiao tofu, and boiled dried shredded rice. She hadn't tasted authentic Jiangnan cuisine since she came here, and wondered if Yinshi restaurant would be a disappointment or not. The food would cost over 30 liang, but that was worth the while if the taste was authentic. Shao Yunwan and Shao Xiaoqi arrived after the two girls had waited for a while. Xiao Xian smiled brightly at Shao Yunwan. I heard that the restaurant serves authentic southern dishes. Let's just have a try. Shao Yunwan smiled gently. There are many restaurants in the province that are worth trying out. We will visit them one by one. Chapter 403. Yuezheng Ting's Tears. Okay, sounds good. Xiao Xian smiled. Neither she nor Tao Tao mentioned the conflict with Yuezheng Ting to Shao Yunduan and she. That would just make the atmosphere worse. The Yinshi restaurant was expensive for a reason. The dishes were very well made, authentic, and the four of them were very satisfied. At the Yuezheng family's mansion, the atmosphere was very strange. Yuezheng Ting was crying to her mother, Ms. Me, about what happened during the day. I managed to get the girl of the CF family to join me for lunch, but I was so humiliated. Those two girls must have recognized me, but still humiliated me on purpose. They're in a good relationship with the third cousin and must have heard something from him, thus treating me like this. How did they manage to befriend third cousin so they could humiliate me like this just to suck up to him? Will he make them rich? I won't let this go. Third cousin is bullying me. Mom, you have to help me. Those two countryside women have bullied me too. Ms. Me got so angry, but she took a deep breath and caressed Yuezheng Ting and said, It is okay. I will ask him when he comes back what he means. How can he befriend some filthy people to bully his own cousin? How dare he? Yuezheng Ting cried even more fiercely. Mom, I want him to help me get to know the CF family, or I will never leave him alone. Okay, don't worry. Yuezheng Shao returned home and was summoned to his second aunt's place by the maid. He raised his eyebrows, feeling surprised. Still he went there. Seeing Yuezheng Ting there with a pair of red eyes, as if she had been bullied, Yuezheng Shao felt even more confused. She gave him an annoyed look which made him think about the previous instance. What were these two women thinking about doing again? Still planning to pester me? He could give one lipstick of each color to them as presents, but not for them to use as favors. Ms. Me smiled. Nephew, who have you befriended these days? You are the young master of the Yuezheng family, and we are a famous family who should not befriend those filthy and unimportant people. You need to stay away from those lowly, unruly folks so they wouldn't bully our family. Otherwise, it would turn us into a laughingstock. Yuezheng Shao, I don't understand what second aunt is talking about. You can put it straightforwardly if you want to. Yuezheng Ting could not help but retort. Third cousin, I met the two women of that family whom you and young master ate a meal with. The two women bullied me today. They knew that I was your cousin, but they still humiliated me in public. Yuezheng Shao's face turned serious. Was Yuezheng Ting talking about Mrs. Shao and Tao Tao? They were definitely not like that. What happened? Ms. Me asked him instead. Who are those two women? Where are they from? How did you get to know them? Maybe we have conducted business with them? Yuezheng Shao knew that Ms. Me was trying to cause trouble. He kept his connection a secret and said, They don't have any business with us. Just with him. We're just ordinary friends. Cousin, how about telling me what is really going on? Ms. Me snorted and pursed her lips. Chapter 404. For real, Yuezheng Ting said, I, along with fourth miss and her cousin from the CF family, went to Yinshi restaurant for lunch. There was only one elegant room left. I asked the two ladies politely, but they not only countered me, but also stole the elegant room from us. I was humiliated in front of the two cousins at the CF family. How could they do something like that? They're sucking up to you and taking things from us, but humiliating me in front of everyone. Ms. Me added, They humiliated the CF family as well and offended them for no reason. Nephew, I suggest you stop hanging out with them lest you get stuck with them and offend other people. Countryside people are so rude. Yuezheng Shao said. Yinchi restaurant? As far as I know, Yinchi restaurant is a restaurant that sticks to rules. They offer rooms to those who arrive first, with no exception. They must have booked the elegant room in front of you, right? Yuezheng Ting. This is a simple matter. I can ask Yinchi restaurant about it. I know that the manager and the waiters should know about what happened. Yuezheng Ting could not lie anymore and said angrily, they were just a step earlier than us and were talking with the manager. They had not even booked the room. Half a step earlier is still earlier than you. Otherwise, the manager of the Yinchi restaurant would not have given the room to them. They did not bully you. Yuezheng Shao, are you a part of our family? Ms. Mi got furious. 1 or 2 steps earlier is nothing. They embarrassed us. They are your friends and are making money through us, but they dared to humiliate the missus from the Yuezheng familio. Honestly, what made them so bold? We just need to talk. Yuezheng Shao sounded cold. Also, you are wrong, second aunt. They're not making money through us, and we never force people to do anything. Ms. Mi got furious. So it was Ting's fault? Looks like it. Good. You must be feeling very proud to have bullied us from the second section of the family for not having a very successful businessman, right? Yuezheng Shao was surprised. Second aunt, I don't agree with what you said. We were simply discussing this matter. You are a bully if you try to push other people. Also, I think that second, fourth, and fifth cousin are all excellent men. Why are they considered unsuccessful? Fifth cousin reads well, and my father used to speak highly of them. So did my second uncle. Just get out of here. Ms. Mi's face changed as she shouted at him hysterically. Yuezheng Shao got up and greeted her politely. Goodbye, second aunt. He had just walked out of the room when Yuezheng Shao heard Ms. Mil's furious shouting and scolding as well as the sound of china smashing. He snorted and left leisurely. This second aunt of his really loved to make a scene. She was greedy, stupid, narrow-minded, and suspicious. She was domineering towards her subordinates, flattering her superiors. Now she had nothing else to do except curry favor with Madame Yuezheng. She could not give birth to a son, but refused to treat the second, fourth, and fifth cousin well. She kept changing the way of tormenting them. His own mother had the vision of protecting the 3 cousins, so that even now they also had a very good relationship with the 2 cousins. The second cousin accompanied them in business dealings, and they helped each other often. Chapter 405. Working harder that made his second uncle feel very satisfied as well, so when his second aunt tried to turn them against each other, she inevitably failed. That was why he quit the family business. When he quit the family business, second uncle felt even more satisfied, and the family would get more stable, and his mother felt more assured taking care of his father in town. His fifth cousin was very smart. He had been reading a lot since he was young, so the family decided to train him to work for the government. But for some reason, the second aunt was worried that when the fifth cousin became an officer, his mother, Concubine Min's position would be raised. So, she got Concubine Min killed first. Though there was no direct evidence, people were well aware of the fact. Fifth cousin was not too young at the time, and he remembered it. For that, he would probably get second aunt killed when he reached a high position in the government. How dare she scold him like this right now? She was so stupid. Yuezheng Shao thought for a while and decided to visit Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian at the hotel in the afternoon. Yuezheng Ting had offended his friends, and he needed to express his stance. Xiao Xian had not intended to tell Shao Yunduan about this, but now the secret was revealed. She heard him speak a few words and said to Yuezheng Shao, Lady Yuezheng was quite rude at the very beginning, so I did not give away the elegant room to her. Is that okay? Yuezheng Shao laughed. Sure. The first one there gets it first. Just ignore her. Xiao Xian smiled. Thanks. Speaking of this, Yuezheng Shao decided to have a friendly get-together after the scholars' gathering. He also stressed before leaving that he would offer any help if needed. When he was gone, Shao Yunduan looked at Xiao Xian. You're fine, right? Why didn't you tell me about it? He was a bit unhappy to hear that his wife had been bullied and that he knew nothing about it. Shao Xiaoqi and Tao Dao exchanged a look and left the room quietly. Their instinct told them that they should leave the room at the moment. Feeling her heart warm up, Xiao Xian blushed a little when being stared at by his scorching look. She just felt a bit sad to see his hands withdrawing when they were almost about to reach hers. "I'm fine. I just thought that I didn't need to bother you about it." She did not want to get humiliated in front of the public, so she would not have done anything extreme. The Yuezheng family are a rich family, and they have a large network with many contacts around. Lady Yuezheng must be spoiled enough not to be used to this situation. What if she does something terrible in secret to you? Just tell me if something strange happens in the future, okay? Shao Yunduan knew that it was because he was not strong enough so many things like this happened. Otherwise, he would have gone back to Yuezheng Ting to demand an explanation. He was a man who could read, and passing the imperial examination was the only way to make him stronger. He needed to work harder. Xiao Xian felt her heart turn soft. She looked up and smiled at him with a pair of sparkling eyes. Okay, I got it. I will not keep anything from you ever again, okay? Shao Yunduan nodded, and his heart started to beat nervously. As long as I am here, no one will ever bully you. Okay, I know. Shao Yunduan smiled. Good, do remember that in mind. The couple looked at each other, feeling their hearts turning warm. Shao Yunduan did not tell her how he felt for her, because he was not qualified enough at the moment to do so. Xiao Xian was not anxious to hear what she wanted to hear. He had only her, and he only cared about her. Chapter 406. Sensing something on the day of the gathering, Yuezheng Shao got a wagon to drive Shao Yunduan and Shao Xiaoqi to the venue. Xie will be present there too. He was going to keep an eye on Shao Yunduan secretly rather than stay by his side. Xiao Xian and Tao Tao decided to take this opportunity to travel around the town. They wanted to buy a lot of things to plant for the dessert stores and also needed raw materials for the lipsticks and extract essence. Xiao Xian was going to do business outside the county. Now that they had come here, they were going to stroll around the place, while enjoying the scenery to see what they could possibly run into so that they would not miss anything. She had a lot of savings. If she could buy a piece of land in the outskirts of the province or somewhere far away from home, she would benefit a lot from that purchase as well. There would be a great deal for them. The two girls rented the wagon, which they had rented before. According to the coachman, there was a beautiful site several kilometers away from the center, so that was where they headed towards. They asked the coachman to wait at the site, whilst Xiao Xian and Tao Dao took a look around the place. They seemed as if they were just idling around. Yet with Xiao Xian's superpower, she was trying to pick the place where the plants could grow well and in large clusters. Tao Tao was a bit unsure. She glanced around and whispered to Xiao Xian, "Fifth sister-in-law, are we safe here? Let's just take a walk in a close-by area only, okay?" Xiao Xian chuckled inside her heart. She was not afraid of any danger here. She could receive a lot of help from the plants. One bad guy, and she would make those plants help her out quite effectively. Don't worry, we're in the outskirts of the province. It is very safe here. There are many villages and abbeys here. No one would dare to do anything to us. Tao Dao trusted her fifth sister-in-law deeply. So when she heard what she said, she nodded and smiled with a kind of embarrassment. Oh, in that case, I am assured. They were walking when Xiao Xian suddenly turned to the eastern side. She had a sense that beyond this stream, through that patch of forest, there was something summoning her, or rather her space. The space had not been this eager before. It was craving for something badly. Something extremely good must be present on the other side. Motivated, Xiao Xian took Tao Dao to walk eastwards. They walked through the woods and saw an abbey. The tall black brick wall separated the inside from the outer area. Only some tall trees protruded from the wall with thick branches. Looking up, they could faintly see the black root ridge and raised cornices. Xiao Xian was a bit confused. The good things were inside the abbey that belonged to someone else. She had no idea who owned the abbey, and she wondered what kind of people were inside the abbey. They could not just go inside abruptly. They needed to be prepared before going in. She knew how to behave properly. Let's leave. Xiao Xian was not regretful. She bore this place in mind and would try to find out the owner of the abbey after they went back to the center. Hearing Xiao Xian sighing, Cao Cao assumed that it was because they could not continue since the abbey belonged to someone else. She consoled her. Let's turn to another path. They had just walked a few meters when they ran into a middle-aged maid and a young maid, who were walking towards them, accompanying a plainly dressed middle-aged madam. The madam looked tall, with a long and thin face. She looked ill and seemed to have a preoccupied mind. She was walking with her head lowered with the help of the middle-aged maid. Chapter 407. Encounter with First Madam. The woman maid held a basket with a lid, and the three of them were not talking. Seeing that, Xiao Xian and Cao Cao made way for them to pass through. 2 meters away from them, the woman swayed and then collapsed with her eyes closed. The middle-aged maid and young maid cried out together as they helped the madam up. First Madam, please, First Madam. First Madam, wake up, please wake up. Xiao Xian and Cao Cao went up to help them without any hesitation. But they did not know how to cure sick people. Annie, should you take the lady into the city for a medical checkup? We have a wagon, and we can take you there. The maid looked up and saw Cao Cao and Xiao Xian. She forced a smile and said, It is fine, but could you help us to carry her back to our abbey? The maid clearly knew that First Madam was distressed mentally, and that's why she became sick. She was in a bad mood, thus passing out. It was not that she had any disease. She was disturbed in her heart and needed to get that problem cured from the root. Otherwise, she would not be able to recover. Xiao Xian and Cao Cao nodded. Together with the middle-aged maid, they helped the madam back to the abbey, which happened to be the place Cao Cao and Xiao Xian had intended to go to a while ago. As they went into the abbey, the servants came with a chair and carried their First Madam back to the room. The middle-aged maid asked the housekeeper to take Xiao Xian and Cao Cao to the hall. She apologized to them before heading back to First Madam to see how she was doing. The medical pills were slowly dissolving inside warm water. Auntie Hua ordered the other maids to get First Madam to lean against the chair as she fed the medicine into her mouth. Gradually, First Madam opened her eyes. The abbey wasn't very big, yet it was quiet and neat. Looking out from the window of the flower hall, they could see the corridor, pavilion, rockery, and lake stones among the flowers and trees. The trees were lush and green, and everything was very neat. The maid served them tea and pastry and stood quietly by the doorstep. Cao Cao was feeling uneasy. She had not expected that they would run into such a beautiful abbey. She looked at her sister-in-law, who looked very serene, so she tried to calm herself down too. But what she did not know was that Xiao Xian was not feeling calm at all. Her space was getting agitated, and she knew where the good thing should be, yet she just could not touch it directly. Such a feeling sucked. Xiao Xian and Cao Cao would have left by now, but for her curiosity towards that unknown thing. She did not need to stay to seek favor or attempt to establish a friendship with this family, since all they did was to help carry the woman home. But that unknown piece of treasure was tormenting her mind so much that she really wanted to see what it was. Annie Hua came before Xiao Xian, and Cao Cao waited for too long. Thank you for your help today. Our First Madam would like to meet you to express her gratitude, but she is too sick to come over. She has asked me to thank you. Annie Hua bowed to Xiao Xian and Cao Cao as she offered a palm-sized brocade box in orange color. She said with a smile, It is already lunchtime. Why not stay for lunch here at the abbey? Chapter 408. Treasure. Xiao Xian turned down the brocade box. It is just a small favor. We cannot accept such a big present. If it is okay with you, we would like to have lunch here. Startled, Annie Hua smiled. That is totally okay. Please stay for lunch. This present. Just put it away. We can't accept it. Xiao Xian just could not accept such a large present just because she did a small favor for them. Seeing her resolute attitude, Annie Hua did not insist, but exchanged names between each other so they could be served lunch soon. Xiao Xian could not give up the chance of taking a walk around and begged the maid. Annie Hua, can we take a walk around this garden? It looks so beautiful. It might be a little rude for them to make a proposal like this just because they had done them a small favor. Slightly surprised, Annie Hua did not expect that a properly behaved woman like Xiao Xian would propose something like this. Despite her slight displeasure, Auntie Hua nodded with a smile. Sure, just walk around as you wish, but don't go too far. Thank you. Xiao Xian smiled and thanked her. Tao Dao thought that her sister-in-law was really interested in the landscape in the garden, so she was also very glad to have a chance to take a look around this beautiful garden. The two girls walked into the garden. Xiao Xian had a predetermined goal in her mind. She simply followed the direction the space was summoning her to. Soon, they came to the deep side of the garden. Then she was shocked. She was totally taken aback, facing the patch of woods in front of her. Tao Dao could not help but breathe. It smells so good. What are these trees? They are giving off such a nice scent. Xiao Xian, of course, there was a great smell. The forest was not large, but there was so much sandalwood, which was emitting the fragrance. The trees were very well trimmed, despite the size. Some large trees would be as old as 40 years. Xiao Xian did not recognize the trees, but she could sense that there was a smell of sandalwood. But she could also sense that the forest was filled with precious trees. That was because her space had turned desperate for them. If she was more knowledgeable, she would be even more shocked because the trees included sandalwood, yellow rosewood, lobular Venus red sandalwood, golden Phoebe, camphor tree, purple camphor tree, cold scented tree, and more. The owner of the abbey apparently loved those precious woods, so they had this patch filled with trees many years ago. These were huge trees. Xiao Xian could not help but walk into the trees when she saw a very tall, sky-piercing tree. But she could not just take them. She wanted to get a few twigs, but she failed to reach them. She needed to walk up to the tree to get them. Xiao Xian struggled for a while, but didn't ask Tao Dao to climb the tree together. It would be embarrassing if people in the abbey saw it, especially after they were received so warmly. If she did this, it would be too disrespectful and unsuitable. Xiao Xian thought and decided to ask Annie Hua to get 2 twigs for them. Small ones would do too. As long as these twigs went into space with the blessing of magical power, the space would be full of vitality. The small branches could take root and grow vigorously. Chapter 409. Repair the trees from all over the country were all gathered here, which was not a very easy thing to achieve. The owner must have spent a lot of money and energy on this project. They were all precious things, and the owner might not be willing to share anything with her. But she could give it a try. Sister-in-law, look, someone is there. Tao Dao tugged at Xiao Xian's sleeves as she pointed at a place not far away. The forest was not shadowed by any bushes or weeds, but the trees were flourishing, and they were not able to see everything at one glance, unless she used her superpower. Following Tao Dao's direction, Xiao Xian looked through the trees and saw a gray-haired man sitting on a wheelchair, with his back facing her. Xiao Xian felt a bit lucky for not having climbed up the tree. Otherwise, she would have been seen and caused embarrassment. She did not dodge that man and said to Tao Dao, "Maybe he is the owner. Let's go and speak with him." The 2 girls walked up and saw that the middle-aged man looked very skinny and sick. His cheekbones stood out and his hair had turned gray. "Hello." Xiao Xian stopped the moment she started to speak. The middle-aged man's head was tilting to one side, his eyes were tightly closed and hands drooping. He had apparently passed out. "Fifth sister-in-law, don't be scared." Xiao Xian was surprised too, thinking what kind of luck she had to run into 2 such people. She stepped forward quickly. She reached out for the man's pulse. The middle-aged man was wearing a robe in a dark brown color with golden lines. The wheelchair was made of rosewood, which she realized only when they got closer. It could be seen that even if he was not the owner of this place, he was definitely a master with status. Xiao Xian could not leave the man here like this. What if he was dead? Then how should she tell others about it? She needed to check his pulse first, so she could either stay here or fetch someone. Xiao Xian was startled again when she felt the pulse. The man seemed to have been poisoned. The muscles in his lower body were severely blocked. That was why he could not walk, and his chest and internal organs were also damaged to varying degrees. As long as he was alive, he must endure unbearable torture. Xiao Xian subconsciously activated her superpower. It flowed through her fingertips and poured into the middle-aged man's body. The small but endless, energetic superpower slowly opened up the territory in the man's body, washing away the blocked tendons and repairing the dilapidated damage wherever it passed by. Tao, who was standing next to her, got so nervous that she wanted to burst out in tears as she saw the fainted man and the absent-minded sister-in-law of hers. What was wrong with this man? Why was her sister-in-law not reacting? What was this terrible situation? What should they do? Old master. Yuan got so surprised when he saw two strange women standing next to his old master. He walked up and pushed the wheelchair backwards. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Xiao Xian withdrew her move and said, "Sorry, mister. We were walking around when we ran into this place, and this old master seems to have passed out." So Yuan lowered his head and found that his old master had fainted. He let out a cry of surprise, ignored Xiao Xian and Tao, and walked away in a hurry with the wheelchair. Chapter 410. For the time being, Yuezheng had just gone to the bathroom, and something happened to the old master. His old master had to be all right. Xiao Xian, anyway, this person did not blame them for anything, which was already a comforting thing. Xiao Xian and Tao were not in a mood to continue with the walk any longer. Also, Xiao Xian's purpose had already been achieved. Back to the hall, some maids laid out the table for them to have lunch. Xiao Xian asked about Annie Hua, to which the woman maid said that Annie Hua was in the middle of doing something, so she could not be here. They were asked to eat lunch well. Xiao Xian suspected that the middle-aged man must be the owner of the abbey and First Madam's husband. First Madam must have been taking care of her husband for a long time, so she collapsed out of tiredness. Xiao Xian could not help but feel sorry for them. Annie Hua must be busy dealing with the old master when she was working for the mistress. So, Xiao Xian did not ask anything more, but exchanged a few polite words, sat down and ate with Tao. She could not mention asking for the twigs. She felt a bit sorry, but since she knew where those treasures were, she would find some ways to get them. She could ask Yuezheng Shao for help, right? The young maid in the abbey did not look down at Xiao Xian and Tao just because they were plainly dressed or because they had never been here before. They were served with 6 dishes and 1 soup. The servants served them well. The reason why those servants were so well-mannered and did not judge people by their looks must be because their master and mistress had taught them so. It was a family with moralities. Xiao Xian could not help but develop a good feeling towards this family. She would not mind treating that old master if she had some opportunity in the future in exchange for a few twigs from the precious trees. She was going to think of a good method to use the superpower without exposing her abilities or causing suspicion. After lunch, Xiao Xian and Tao waved them goodbye. They took a walk around and went back to where the wagon was stationed. Then they went back to the city together. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when the 2 girls arrived at the hotel. Shao Yunduan and she had not yet returned as the evening touched down. They might not be able to come back for dinner. So, Xiao Xian and Tao ate some simple dinner at the hotel rather than wait for them. Sure enough, when they returned, it was already dark outside. Shao Yunduan had drunk some wine and walked in with the help of Qi and Chu Shan. Luckily, he still had a pair of bright eyes. He was not fully drunk. No one liked to take care of drunk people. Chu Shan did not leave directly after he helped Shao Yunduan. Instead, he left after helping Shao Yunduan wash up. Xiao Xian thanked Chu Shan and gave him a red packet containing 1 liang. and asked Qi to walk him out. Then, she asked Qi about the gathering. Speaking of it, Shao Xiaoqi could not help but tell Xiao Xian and Tao Dao the story vividly. It was a very bustling event. They made poetry and discussed articles. Everything looked lively. He could not understand it all, but he could still tell that there was competition in the happy place. Xiao Xian and Tao Dao showed concern about Shao Yunduan, to which Shao Xiaoqi said proudly, "Fifth brother is excellent." Everything spoke highly of his articles. Some people looked down at him initially, but when he made the articles, they were all convinced, especially when young Master Xia praised him as well. After that, everyone started to look at Fifth brother in a different way. Chapter 411. Flashback. Tao was very happy and laughed with pride. Xiao Xian felt proud on behalf of her husband too. That was what a celebrity could bring about. Her husband owed young Master Xia a huge favor. But young Master Xia never told lies. If he spoke highly of her husband, then her husband must be worth the praise. So, should she be hopeful for the autumn examination? The thought pleased Xiao Xian completely. It was the best news ever. The following day, the four of them ate breakfast together. The gathering continued on this day. Shao Yunwan did not get too drunk the night before, so he was already quite sober by this time. He even inquired about Xiao Xian and Tao Dao about where they went the day before. Xiao Xian did not mention the abbey, but only told him briefly about taking a tour outside the town. Shao Yunduan was about to say something when Xiao Xian smiled. Just very close to town, somewhere with many people around. We didn't or will not go too far. Shao Yunduan smiled too, and dropped his idea to nag her. Don't travel too far. After breakfast, Shao Yunduan and Qi went out, whilst Xiao Xian and Tao Tao stayed for a bit longer at the hostel and then stepped out for shopping. There were a few sites with beautiful landscapes that were worth visiting. At the abbey, Old Master, who was in a coma, woke up finally. The Old Master had been seriously injured in an accident before. His legs were crippled, and other body functions were also damaged to some extent. Most of the time, he laid down in a daze every day. Going in a coma or experiencing occasional pains happened often. There were some occasions when he would feel better. Whenever he felt better and the day was nice, he would go out in the wheelchair, asking his servant to help him check the forest consisting of the precious trees that he had planted 30 years ago. When the Old Master woke up and saw his wife sitting by the bedside crying, he responded with a smile. "You're still not used to this, are you?" Madam forced a smile. "Of course not. You had to get well. Don't frighten me." She was not afraid of taking care of him, nor was she worried about keeping him company in this tedious abbey. She was just scared that he would pass out and never wake up one day. The doctor said that his body was already very weak and his viscera had been severely damaged. These years, he only relied on precious medicinal materials to continue his life. Despite that, it was still getting worse little by little. One day, it would turn so bad that his body wouldn't be able to bear it any longer. At that point, it would be the end of his life. But his wife did not dare to let him know about that. It was something that continuously pained her heart like a blade hanging over her head, which might drop any time. Especially during the past 1 year, he was getting worse, and any small occasion would make her nervous. But despite the relapse that happened today, Old Master looked good and ate a lot more food during dinner and drank a more bowl of soup. Maybe he had been trapped indoors for too long, and today, "I am much better and feeling more energetic." His wife felt very nervous upon hearing the words. This should not have been the last moment before death, right? She forced a smile. "Good that you're getting better. Good." First Madam slept in the Old Master's room that night. She barely dared to close her eyes in case something happened. Chapter 412. Curious luckily, Old Master woke up in time the next day, and he seemed to have turned better than the day before. The doctor came to check on the Old Master today, and was shocked. "Old Master, madam, did you consult another doctor? Or did he drink any medicine, or get acupuncture, or anything else?" "Huh, what?" Both Old Master and Madam were confused. What do you mean, Dr. Tang? You're the only doctor who is taking care of his health, and he eats and takes medicine according to your instructions. No one else is involved. For real? Of course. I'm not joking about this. Madam said seriously. Dr. Tang said, Madam, please, I don't mean anything like this. It is just, I found that Old Master has turned much better than before. Dr. Tang gave a hard pinch on Old Master's left calf and said, Sorry. The Old Master let out a scream. It hurts. Madam stiffened, and Annie Hua as well as everyone else all got very shocked. What are you saying, Old Master? Madam's voice shivered. It hurts. Dr. Tang, can't you be gentle? The Old Master finally realized what was going on. He stiffened too as he mumbled. Am I dreaming? Pinch me again now. He lost feelings for his legs ages ago, and a pinch or even a stab of knife would lead to no feelings at all. But Dr. Tang just pinched him and he felt the pain. He could not believe that it was real. Dr. Tang pinched him again. It hurts. Old Master inhaled and said, Dr. Tang, can't you be gentle? Everyone burst into laughter. Annie Hua smiled and said, This is great news, madam. Every servant started to pass on congratulations to the Old Master. First, madam could not help but smile. That is a piece of great news. Dr. Tang, what on earth happened? Thank you so much for your help. Dr. Tang shook his hands. No, madam, this has nothing to do with me. If I were this capable, I would have cured the Old Master long ago. Not only have Old Master's leg gotten better, but the previously blocked tendons also show signs of unblocking. Even the wounds in his viscera also get better. This is definitely not my contribution. I am also wondering who is so capable to have done so. Dr. Tang looked very expectant. Old Master and Madam exchanged a look between themselves. Oh well, Old Master, Madam, just think about it thoroughly. Did you run into anyone today? Or ate? Or drink anything different? Anything? Old Master and Madam thought deeply. There was nothing out of the ordinary. My Old Master's receiving treatment in the Abbey, and no guests come over except for some his son and daughter-in-law, who visit him sometimes. Auntie Hua smiled. Yeah, it is very quiet here, and the Old Master is receiving treatment here because he doesn't want to be disturbed. No one was here today except Madame Shao and her sister-in-law, who helped us to get Madame home. Dr. Tang's eyes sparkled as he said, They did not meet the Old Master. It was an offhand question, but Dr. Tang was very curious to know the truth. He did not want to leave out any possibility. Chapter 413. Dreaming Annie Hua laughed. Of course not. They didn't even meet the Old Master. Yuan suddenly looked up and looked at Annie Hua. He thought for a while and said carefully, The two ladies? They did meet the Old Master yesterday. Yuan recounted what happened in the forest the day before. Dr. Tang added, Old Master was in a coma, and no one knows what they did. Where are they right now? Can I meet them? Everyone present. They felt that Dr. Tang had turned mental. Madam smiled. Dr. Tang, that can't be possible. I don't think that is possible either. So I need to find out what is going on. Can it not be because your medicine works? Impossible. I know what medicine I have prescribed. What about doing it like this? We look for the two ladies. In the meanwhile, Old Master, Madam, and Annie Hua, you can start to recall what you have given or done to Old Master, or eaten anything special. If we find the cause, the Old Master's health could turn better. Everyone got very motivated. Dr. Tang, you are saying that Old Master is becoming better. Can you check him more carefully and see what is it that made him better? Dr. Tang laughed bitterly. If I was able to do so, I would definitely have found the cause. But I can't. Old Master's health has improved, but I don't know how. I need to find the cause, Madam nodded. Okay, I got it. Dr. Tang added, If you find the cause, you have to tell me about it definitely. Of course. Dr. Tang sighed and left. Madam asked Annie Hua to think it through carefully and asked the servants to fetch her son. Her son was very good at finding people. It turned out that her son was Yuezheng Shao. Yuezheng Shao was doing accounting in the study, and when he heard that his mother was looking for him, he got frightened and miscalculated things. He turned anxious suddenly, wondering if something bad had happened to his father. So, he hurried off to look for them. His mother had never urged him so quickly. He arrived at the abbey and heard what happened to his father. He became so happy. No wonder his mother was in a hurry. His mother just could not wait to tell him the good news. First Madam narrated what Dr. Tang had told them, and said bitterly, "We are clueless about this. We are wondering what happened to your father. Can you help us find a couple of ladies?" Yuezheng Shao listened to her carefully. But as the story went, he felt that something was getting really weird. Madam Chow, Mississippi Shao? Sister-in-laws? But weren't they? How did they end up coming to his abbey and cure his father? Also, since when did Madam Chow know how to cure people? Yuezheng Shao felt as if he were dreaming. Are you listening? First Madam patted him as she saw her son's mind drifting away. Yuezheng Shao smiled. I am. You need to find those two ladies, right? I will definitely get them here for you. Chapter 414. Invitation. He could not help but describe what Xiao Xian and Xiao Tao Tao looked like. Annie Hua's eyes widened. Yeah, that is it. Do you know them, third young master? First Madam was very surprised too. Yuezheng Shao smiled. If it was them who were here, then you don't have to worry. We are actually good friends. Madam Xiao's husband, Xie Jingrong, and I get along very well with each other. Madam Xiao is a very smart woman. She can do business well. Hearing that the lipsticks, which were so popular and always out of stock, originated from Madam Xiao, First Madam was taken aback. Is she really that good? What a pity that I did not meet them yesterday. Annie Hua was very surprised and chuckled. You can't judge people by their looks. Madam Xiao and her sister-in-law looked very ordinary, but they have such hidden abilities. Annie Hua could not help but feel lucky that she had not looked down upon them the day before. Otherwise, it would have been so embarrassing. You have not seen them, and I am not sure if they are the ones whom you are looking for. I will go and meet them now. First Madam nodded and urged him, Go right away, don't delay it. Yuezheng Shao left the abbey, went onto the wagon, and told the coachman to head towards the hotel where Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were staying. I have not yet confirmed it, but I do feel that they were the savior's sister-in-law is a great woman, and I am good as well. What luck I have. Yuezheng Shao came to the hotel, but Xiao Xian and Tao Dao were not there. The two ladies had gone shopping. They planned to try different cuisines, so they took a slow walk around and bought some interesting things. Yuezheng Shao could do nothing but wait at the hotel. It was not long after lunch that the two ladies returned. Sister-in-law Tao Tao. Yuezheng Shao's eyes were sparkling. He was a very calm man, but this was about his father, and he could not hold back the excitement. Yuezheng Shao's sparkling eyes startled Xiao Xian and Tao Dao. Young Master Yuezheng, what happened? Sister-in-law, please tell me, did you go to an outskirt abbey called Southern Garden yesterday? Xiao Xian was startled. She felt that something weird was going to occur. There was one faint idea that almost popped in her mind. Yes, we were there yesterday. How did you get to know? What a coincidence. Yuezheng Shao laughed as he struck the table. That is where my parents live. You helped my mother and then my father yesterday. I don't know how to thank you. Xiao Xian, Yuezheng Shao said resolutely. You cured my father, didn't you? Please, sister-in-law, help my father, and we will be grateful to you for the rest of our lives. Please stop. Xiao Xian smiled helplessly. So the man we ran into yesterday was Old Master Yuezheng. Actually, I'm not a doctor, but I have some knowledge with massage and acupuncture. I was worried about Old Master yesterday. So, he is better now, right? Yuezheng Shao laughed bitterly. My father has been ill for many years. He was seriously injured in an accident when he was walking with a caravan. His legs became numb, and his internal organs were severely damaged. All these years, he has just been dragging his body until yesterday. But you helped him, and his spirit has improved a lot already. Dr. Ting diagnosed him today and found that he has become better, and his legs are also feeling some sensation. Chapter 415, Tryout, Sister-in-Law, you can definitely save my father. Please help us. Xiao Xian was very surprised. Did it work out well? Yes, it worked very well. Yuezheng Shao nodded constantly. Please, sister-in-law, can you come with me to Southern Garden, please? Xiao Xian fell into contemplation. Yuezheng Shao coaxed her. Southern Garden is close by. I promise to drive you back to the hotel before the gate closes. Yuezheng Shao would not have urged her so much if it had not been for his father's health. He seemed to be a little bit disrespectful when he was pushing her in this way, but Xiao Xian could understand his mood. If he were to remain calm when it came to his father, then such a man would be deemed as cold-blooded. Okay, we will come with you, but I'm not sure if I can be of any help. Yuezheng Shao did not care and said with a smile, Of course, sister-in-law, you can check him first. We won't force you to do anything. Xiao Xian smiled. That was true. They went to Southern Garden and met the First Madam. First Madam sized up Xiao Xian and could not help but develop a good feeling towards this woman. She looked graceful, open, and made people feel comfortable. It was you who helped us yesterday, and I should have met you personally yesterday. I am sorry. Xiao Xian smiled. That is fine, First Madam. You were busy, and you didn't have time for polite pleasantries. You treated us well, though. Also, First Madam, you needed to rest well, too. Thank you for your understanding. First Madam smiled briefly and lowered her head. Her nerves remained tensed up all the time, but there was nothing she could do about it. Yuezheng Shao cleared his throat and said with a smile, Sister-in-law, please don't be so restrained. You can address my mother as aunt, and if you don't mind, my mother can call you niece. First Madam and Xiao Xian laughed. She did not refuse and greeted First Madam by addressing her as aunt. First Madam asked them for their names and called them by their names. She even gave Tao Dao and Xiao Xian a pair of ruby-embodied golden hairpins as greeting presents. They exchanged a few words and then talked about what happened the day before. First Madam realized that Dr. Ting had guessed it right. Xiao Xian had helped her husband. She could not help but exclaim with excitement. Xian, could you please help him again? He has been lying in bed for so many years, and I am afraid. First Madam started to sob. Yuezheng Shao turned to her and consoled her. Don't be sad, Mom. He is getting better, right? His health will surely improve. He and his elder brother had never stopped hiring the best doctors around. Xiao Xian consoled First Madam and replied soothingly, I will give it a try. Let's see if that works. First Madam was so grateful already that Xiao Xian had decided to help them. Xiao Xian had no idea how to do acupuncture or massage. She could not even recognize any spots. She came to help without bringing any needles along as well, claiming that they had come in a hurry. But they had needles ready at the abbey, which could be used. As she put the needles on the calf, these caused no feelings except for pain. After putting on the show for a while, Xiao Xian said, maybe if Uncle is in a coma, he would be totally relaxed, and the treatment would work better. That you're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.